behalf of the downtown family, I, Ms. Kaveri Bhattacharya, HR Manager of the hospital, and your first host for the day, welcome you all to the prestigious 7th Northeast Patient Safety Workshop organized every year by Downtown Hospital involving outstanding national eloquentists and alumni. In this ever-changing, ever-developing healthcare landscape, health systems globally are now operating in increasingly complex environments. In this context, healthcare providers have recognized patient safety as a fundamental principle, and this workshop has brought key stakeholders on a common platform to sensitize us all on our roles. We believe that the collective commitment and efforts of all will create an environment in which every patient receives safe and respectful care every time, everywhere. To begin with today's workshop, I now request Ms. Mayurakshi Datta, Executive Director, Downtown Hospital, and the President of the 7th Northeast Patient Safety Workshop, to deliver her welcome address. Ms. Mayurakshi Datta, a distinguished leader in healthcare and education in Northeast India, is an MBA with distinction from Griffith University, Australia. She has completed her hospital administration training from Birmingham, United Kingdom. Ms. Datta has been instrumental in heading the quality system of the organization, under which Downtown Hospital became the first in the Northeast India to be accredited by NABH since 2013 and successfully re-accredited to the 5th edition in December 2022, along with ISO certification since 2000 and an NABL certified laboratory since 2008. She is also the founder trustee of Downtown Charity Trust, under which the Assam Downtown University became the second private university in the state to recognize by India Today magazine as one of the top 10 private universities in India. Furthermore, she holds the position of director at Downtown Enterprises Limited, contributing to her extensive portfolio in both healthcare and education. In recognition of her excellence and contribution in the healthcare sector, Ms. Mayurakshi Datta was awarded with the Women Leadership Award by the Associated Chambers of Commerce and Industry of India in 2023. Her leadership at Downtown Hospital Limited has helped provide healthcare services to not only to the people of Assam, but also to the Northeast India and its neighboring countries. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Kaveri. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the 7th edition of the Northeast Patient Safety Workshop. As Kaveri has already said, we started our quality journey way back in 2000. And when we started off, it was more of a challenge for us because a lot of things were not available in this region. Like we did not know where to go to calibrate our equipments. There was nothing available. We had to go to Calcutta. We had to bring in people from outside to calibrate our equipments, to train our staff. But throughout this journey, we are proud to say that we never kept a consultant. We did it all ourselves. We've had stumbling blocks. We've had huge delays. But we feel that that has helped us to learn and to grow as a quality healthcare provider of this region. This edition of the patient safety workshops, the idea came about from Dr. Rudan Barua sir, who's our medical superintendent now. And it started about 9 years ago. So this is the 7th edition because in between 2 years we couldn't hold a public event like this because of COVID restrictions. And it gives me great pleasure today to have very, very eminent speakers with us. Dr. Alexander Thomas, Dr. Giridhar Gyani, Dr. K. Hari Prasad, Professor Sankar Das, Dr. Isha Arora Narang, Dr. Vinci Ashok Tribhuban, Ms. Sangrabhadra Chakrabarti, and Mr. Shailesh Mehta. We hope these deliberations today will help you all to understand and navigate the tricky situation of providing better and safe healthcare to our patients as well as the community at large. You can see glimpses of the previous workshops before. The last two editions, we've had problems accommodating people in our hospital campus because, as you know, it's not very large, and we've had to turn away delegates who were willing to participate in the workshop. The initial workshop was only about barely 100, and today's workshop has a registration of more than 350 delegates. So we hope that all of you will take back a very good message from today's workshop. What we've also started this time is a pre-summit workshop, which happened yesterday. And we have a state-of-the-art stimulation labs here. And we had hands-on workshops in 3 different specialties, like forensic medicine, physiotherapy, and basic life support. You can see glimpses of yesterday's hands-on workshop. And we hope that this will also benefit our delegates. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to Dr. Gyani and Dr. Thomas from my side, because, sir, both of you have been instrumental in bringing all the private healthcare providers together and have also helped us to bring our point of view to the government, to the media, as well as the public at large. A very warm welcome to both of you, sir, and Dr. Narang as well. Thank you very much, ma'am. I'd also like to welcome all the delegates present here today, as well as our sponsors, and we hope that you will have a fulfilling session. Thank you very much, and looking forward to seeing you all during the course of the day.
Thank you, ma'am. I now take the privilege to call upon Dr. Alexander Thomas, founder and patron, Association of Healthcare Providers of India, Consortium of Accredited Healthcare Organizers, CAHO, and Association of National Board Accredited Institutions, ANBAI, and our chief guest for today's workshop to enlighten us with an introduction to patient safety culture. Dr. Alexander Thomas, a highly distinguished healthcare leader, has dedicated over 4 decades to transforming India's healthcare sector. Among his notable achievements are the inclusions of healthcare communication in the NABH, accreditation standards for hospitals, 4th edition, rolling back service tax on healthcare, criminalizing assaults on doctors, and advocating for IRDA's mandate. Are you sure, sir? Okay. I request, sir, to please do the honors.
Presentation is here.
Yes, I'll help you.
Good morning to all of you, and it's a pleasure to be here in Assam. I remember, just sitting here, I was just remembering, maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, Northeast was a little separate from the rest of the country, so we were trying to integrate. So there was a shortage of nurses at that time, there still is. There were no centers of learning in the Northeast, so we actually Of course, what is the significance? It ensures better health outcomes, and as a consequence of that, it builds trust in the healthcare system. Now, when you talk about a culture of patient safety, recently there was an article in the newspaper talking about toxic culture, one of the companies, where they had a meeting at 2 a.m. So when you talk about a culture, it reflects the environment of the institution, the shared values, the shared beliefs and norms. And when you talk about patient safety culture, it's about the importance of safety within the organization. And what are the key characteristics of patient safety, the culture of patient safety? I think it's very important that you have an open communication and reporting of errors. Very importantly, non-punitive responses to mistakes. I remember earlier in my career, when I was a young CEO, I learned a lot from Dr. Gyani after that. I always say, if you make a mistake, you have to be accountable. But I think we have to change that. You have to be understanding. Mistakes do happen. So I think one of the key things is you must have a culture where people know that if they make a genuine mistake, they will not be pulled up, but they will be encouraged to go on the right path. So that's what we talk about when we say non-punitive response to mistakes. And as we always talk about quality, it's not one event or two events. It's a commitment to continuous improvement. It's not, okay, NABH assessment is coming, let's cook the books, let's cut and paste, let's show the NABH assessors that we are doing well. It is a commitment to continuous improvement. Now, why is safety culture important? It reduces preventable harm, and the key here is preventable. It reduces, there are some things which are beyond your control, you can't help it. But when you can reduce preventable harm, what is a natural consequence of this, which follows? It enhances teamwork and trust, and as a result of that, the staff morale and retention also increase. So it's a cycle, like the chicken and egg. You reduce preventable harm, that results in teamwork, and that increases staff morale, and that again reduces preventable harm. It's a cycle which is very easily doable and implementable. Now, when you talk about patient safety, it's very, very connected to medical errors. No, medical errors is not only common to India, it's a global phenomenon, it's a global challenge. And globally, it is estimated that 10% of hospitalized patients experience harm. 10% is a large number when you look at volumes. So for every 100 patients that you admit, 10 of them experience harm. And it's among the top 10 causes of death globally. I think in the US it's the third highest cause of death. So I think when you talk about this, these are very, very significant numbers. And these numbers are not from India, not from the underdeveloped world, it is from the developed world, where 10% of hospitalized patients experience harm. Now, in the global scenario, as I said, 1 in 10 patients suffer harm. And just as an example, these are all validated figures. 11% of all deaths in Australia are because of hospital error. That's a huge number. And as I said, in the US, it's the third highest cause of death. In spite of all the advances, in spite of all the standardizations, these are the figures. What about India? I think the slide is stuck. In India, there is no documentation, but in 2017, I think it was, there's a very baseline study which said that 5.2% of all, the incidence was 5.2%. So between 5 to 6% of all deaths, but I think the actual figure is much, much higher. My guess is it's probably 10 to 15%, because the documentation is not very good in India. It wasn't very good in 2017. So my guess is 10 to 15,000, and when you actually transform it into numbers, it's huge. Now, I'd pause here for a minute and ask people in the audience, what are the causes for medical errors? some input from the audience. What are the reasons for medical errors? What are the causes of medical errors? You let the cat out of the bag. What are the other causes for workload? Yes, very important. Any other comments? Any other suggestions? Workload, competence, etc. So let's go to a slide from the Joint Commission. Joint Commission is, I would have put up an NABH slide or a QCI slide, but we don't have it yet. Probably in the next presentation I'll put that up. So communication is it's probably 65 to 70%. Inappropriate communication is the main cause of medical errors. You have other things like orientation, patient assessment, staffing, overwork, availability of information, and various other things, but communication is the top. So I will now digress a little and focus more on communication. I know there is another lecture in the afternoon about communication. I think we have more. I think sister is talking about it from Dimapur. So I'll just talk broadly about communication, its relations to patient safety. So if you actually look at it, you know that medical errors cause 10% of deaths. You know that communication is key. So here you're talking about at least 65 to 70% of medical errors being as a result of inappropriate communication. So see the connection between communication and patient safety. It's very, very significant. And I think the most important thing that we need to register today is that these errors as a result of miscommunication, as a result of inappropriate communication, is that it is completely preventable. And I just back you up with some figures. These are world-recognized figures that talking about medical errors and communication, where the physicians were trained, where the nurses were trained. You see there's a very significant patient safety incidents. When the doctors were not trained, 13% more patient safety incidents. And the second figure is a little more alarming. Where nurses were trained in communication compared to nurses who were not trained in communication, 27% more patient safety incidents. I think very significant, so please keep this in mind. Now let me quickly go through the role of communication in patient safety. We in the healthcare field, why is healthcare communication different from the regular communication? We are talking at high stakes. You're talking about life and death. Complexity. You have people from different backgrounds. You have different diseases. And in India, as we say, is a global village. So you have different cultures. And more as we advance in treatments, you're talking about interdisciplinary collaboration. Tumor boards, you have a surgeon, you have a physician, you have a pathologist, and of course the emotional context. And this is something that we healthcare professionals often forget. We are so numbed by seeing patients come in and go that we forget the emotional aspect. You must remember that when patients come to you, and especially in the ICUs and high intense areas, they come with a lot of anxiety, with a lot of emotional instability. So we need to understand that. We must factor that. Cultural sensitivity I already mentioned, and we are one of the few industries which work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of the year. Now the importance of communication, I've already told you that medical errors is one of the major issues. But if you do communicate right, you have improved outcomes. And I'll just give you an example. Initially, when we went to talk to our clinicians and talk to them about the importance of communication, they said, how does it matter to us? We treat a patient, he gets better. But we have now validated international studies which show that when a patient is treated by a team which has been trained in communication, the outcomes are far better. And in fact, there's one study on diabetic patients where patients who were treated with a trained, communicated, oriented team, the results were far better than those who were not with the other team. Patient satisfaction is important, and I think communication also plays a very, very important role in leadership and teamwork. You have a leader who's transparent, who communicates well. It has been shown that without doubt that a leader with communication skills does far, far better than one who does not have communication skills. Now, there are a few other aspects of communication which have now actually come into vogue. Violence against healthcare workers is a major issue. It's been declared as a national emergency by the WHO, and India, all of us know that it has become very commonplace. We are lobbying with the government to try and come up with some very solid measures to prevent this. But communication plays a very, very important role. It reduces healthcare costs. I'll come to that later. And it ultimately contributes to a safe, efficient, compassionate healthcare system. Now, if you look at violence against healthcare workers, many of us think that, okay, there's violence and then you forget about it. But it goes much, much deeper. There is psychological trauma to the healthcare worker, hindering performance. Clinics may shut down, and this has happened in many places. Clinics which were nursing homes, which were providing service, because of an incident, closed down. And who's the sufferer? It is the community. Defensive practice increases cost of care. And I always give this example of a patient. When I was practicing 15 years ago, a patient came with a headache over a day's duration. We'd give him paracetamol, asked him to come back. 80% of the time, the patient becomes all right. But today, what do? Today, he comes to you with a headache. You get a CT scan, you get this, you get that. The cost of the investigations itself has skyrocketed. The anxiety of the patient increases because he wonders why are they doing so much. But at the end of the day, if the doctor doesn't do that, he's liable to be sued. So the cost of care has gone up enormously because of defensive practice. And as a result, if a patient comes and all these investigations are asked for, the patient says, oh, the doctor is doing this only for money. So it's a multifaceted issue which needs to be tackled. I think a very important aspect which many of us are not actually, the policymakers haven't registered. Earlier, the brightest minds used to come for nursing, for medicine, for administration. But that is slowly changing because people do not want to work in an area where there is stress and violence prone. And we have actually written a book on this. It's called Perils in Practice. It's available as a free download. And here we have looked at various aspects of violence against hospitals. And the main reason for violence against hospitals and medical professionals is lack of appropriate communication. We see sometimes in the ICUs, we become so hardened when we see so many deaths. But please remember, every patient who comes is labile, is emotionally unstable, and we need to talk to him properly. And this will definitely make a difference. Now, initial days when we started the communication movement, I'll come to that a little later, when we went to administrators, they were really not very keen on promoting the movement. It's only when we started talking about the financial aspect of it that people started listening, looking up and listening. The developed world research shows that 2% of a hospital's budget is lost because of inappropriate communication in various aspects. Legal aspects, the loss of time before disputes, and it's not only between the patient and the doctor. It's between departments, it's between hospitals and stakeholders. So there is an important aspect of money also involved. And at the end of the day, because patients are satisfied as a result of communication, your footfall increases, the trust also increases. Now let me come to a few of the initiatives that we have done. Dr. Gyani and me came out with the first book on quality and patient safety. I think it's in its third edition now. And this is used as a companion for many of the management courses which run in various universities. Then we have this communicate care. I think Dr. Barua is telling me that every alternate week you have a workshop in downtown hospital on communication using this book. Again, the first such book in the country. And without any exaggeration, I can say that this book has impacted millions of healthcare professionals in the country. This is the release of the third edition. We are now working on the fourth edition to see how we can, post-COVID, to factor in those issues. We're coming up with the fourth edition shortly. And in fact, we were very, very encouraged. The Honorable Prime Minister sent us a message when we were releasing the third book. So I think the highest authority in the land has realized the need for patient safety and the importance of communication in patient safety, and to develop a patient safety culture in each of the institutions. This is some of the photos of the communication movement. We started this maybe in 2012 or 13. At that time, after writing the book, we got a lot of input, a lot of requests asking us to help out. So as a result of that, we started training trainers, workshops, seminars, etc., including the defense forces. And I think some of the pivotal moments were when this was introduced as a standard in NABH in the fourth edition. So again, all the NABH hospitals, including downtown, started incorporating communication as a necessity for the team. And I often look back to see which are the most impactful activities that we have done through HPI. And I always think of, till now, two things. One is we were able, along with NABH, to make entry-level standards mandatory for empanelment. And this has actually made a huge improvement in the journey of quality for patients coming into the Tier 2, Tier 3 cities. But the other, I think, major impact factor is that we've introduced communication within the undergraduate and PG curricula for medical students in 2019. So as we speak today, more than 2 lakh students are being trained in communication, nurses, allied health, doctors. And the first batch is probably coming out this year, and I'm sure it's going to make a huge impact in terms of patient satisfaction and its allied, like violence in healthcare. It's going to make a huge impact. Now, what is the way forward? As I said, the good news is it's easily preventable. If you do the math, I'll once again repeat. Medical errors cause 10% of the deaths, one of the major causes of mortality. 70% of medical errors is communication. So good communication makes patient safety much more probable in your situation, and it is easily preventable. Does not require huge finances or action plans, and as we say, the return on investment for the corporate sitting here is absolutely huge and mind-boggling. And at the end of the day, good communication improves quality of healthcare delivery significantly. Again, when you look at it, it's not something that is inborn. It's a series of learned skills. It can be taught. It can be taught at all levels, right from the security who greets patients at the door, right down to the director or leader of the institutions. And anyone, I want to repeat this, anyone can be a good communicator. It's a skill, not an inborn trait. And these are the stages of learning, and here I want to focus on one takeaway point, stage 1 to stage 4. And if there's one point that I want to talk to you about, which is the most important, I'll ask you the question. What is the most important part of communication, which everybody sitting in this room can do to start this journey? Any suggestions? You do communication every day. What is the most important part of communication? Absolutely. Bang on. I think listening. Listening is so important. Studies have shown that doctors, nurses, administrators, we don't listen to the patient. In fact, there's one study in the developed world where they see 10 to 15 patients in one OPD. In India, we see 40 to 50. So the patient wants to talk for 1.5 minutes, but the doctor interrupts in 18 seconds. So this is not only true for doctors, it's true for everybody. So my plea to all of you, start this journey of, I know being in downtown, you're all of you are probably at stage 4 where you're unconsciously competent. But those of you who are just being introduced in the journey, make a decision that you will listen. You will listen to your patient. Let the patient think that nothing else matters. That's how it should be, because we are all here, our patients. Listen to him with empathy. Listen to him with compassion. Let him know that he or she is central to what you do, and everything will fall in place. So some of the things that we have to offer you, because one is the book is available. I'm sure you have this copy of you. In the next edition, we are also trying to make it as a free download, so all of you can access it without having to pay for it. In addition to that, we have all these courses, from online workshop on basic nursing, communication, healthcare, and with the Health Sector Skill Council, there is a course which is online, and each of you can take it. I think it's a very nominal cost. Go to the HSSC website, and it's a self-learning program on the basics of communication. In AHPI, our Institute of Healthcare Quality, we have the certificate course in patient safety and in communication. And these are the other books from AHPI, and I've just highlighted the two important ones, the book on communication and the book on healthcare safety. We have written a few other on health law, ethics, climate change, senior citizens. And the last book is on lifestyle as medicine. And here what we are doing is we are trying to empower the patient so that curative medicine will be less. He'll be able to take steps to be healthy, reduce the load on hospitals and healthcare institutions, and as a consequence also reduce medical errors and contribute to a very healthy patient safety culture in the hospital. So I think let's remember that as healthcare providers, every word we communicate, holds the power to save lives and save the future of patient safety. And I'll add one more and end. Every word that we listen to the patient will go a long way. Thank you once again for this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. We would now take the privilege to felicitate Dr. Alexander Thomas with a Fulam Gamucha, a stole, a memento, and a gift. I request Professor Bandana Datta Ma'am, Whole-Time Director, Downtown Hospital, and Dean of Studies, Assam Downtown University, to please do the honors. Thank you, ma'am. It is now time to take the oath of safety, and I request all present to please rise up for the safety pledge. A copy of the pledge is available in the kits handed over to you during registration. Patient Safety Pledge. I hereby pledge to undertake all actions for promotion of patient safety in my hospital, community, and country. I commit to dedicate myself to make healthcare safer by supporting, but not limited to, the following actions, namely, identification and implementation of the ways to reduce errors in patient care, improving our skills and knowledge on all related subjects pertaining to patient safety, actively engaging patients and families as partners in their care, raising public awareness about patient safety, nurturing, supporting, and promoting transparency in care through teamwork, learning from errors for safeguarding interests of patients, and finally, supporting my professional colleagues in their endeavor of promotion of cause of patient safety. Thank you. Please take your seats. I now take the privilege to call upon Dr. Giridhar J. Gyani, Director, Association of Healthcare Providers of India, AHPI, India, and our guest of honor for today's workshop to enlighten us with his valued speech. Dr. Gyani, widely recognized as the Quality Man of India, is the Director General of AHPI. Dr. Gyani is celebrated as the founder of healthcare in India, having played a pivotal role in establishing and operating the NABH during his tenure as Secretary General of the Quality Council of India from 2003 to 2012. He also led the development of India's first accreditation scheme for healthcare, promoting quality standards that transformed the nation's healthcare delivery. As Secretary of QCI, Dr. Gyani spearheaded the establishment of national accreditation structures in diverse domains such as manufacturing, education, environment, skill development, and governance, promoting quality as the national framework. His work included developing India's first quality accreditation standards for schools, a project entrusted to him by former President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, focusing on holistic student development and quality governance. His pioneering efforts in creating an accreditation scheme for environment impact assessment was so widely acclaimed.
Good. Thank you. Right. हाँ जी, शुरू करते हैं इनको या ओके। बंद कर दिया था क्या? इसमें बंद तो नहीं होना चाहिए। Okay, I think we are running behind schedule, but I think organizing this level of conference by a single hospital is praiseworthy. We must compliment Downtown Hospital for organizing not for 7th consecutive patient safety workshop. I think thanks once again. Now, you see, you have heard already from Dr. Alexander Thomas about the patient safety. Somehow organizers, they did not give me any topic. They said, you speak. So I thought, let me highlight certain challenges which industry is facing. So these are the key challenges which as an industry we are facing. These are 10 challenges. You see, the negative perception against the private sector I consider as one of the most important challenge, because somehow or other, that's what Alex showed you, a very great slide on violence against the doctors, healthcare professionals. And all these things actually is happening for no reason. In fact, we have been worshipping doctor as a god, and that feeling still remains. But somehow, I think there are various reasons that, there has been a negative perception against the private sector. Basically, if you ask me, because of the cost. And nobody knows what is the actual cost of delivery of any particular medical procedure. Nobody has done that calculation. And because in government you get the free, so they think they are charging. Anyway, I think this perception has to be addressed, has to be removed, because I think the majority of the factor I consider in healing is the trust factor. So if the patient is coming to the hospital with the feeling, oh, I don't know how much is going to be the bill, what kind of doctors are going to do, actually then, it is very difficult in the healing process. So I think we have to address sooner or later, and we are working on that. Lack of focus on promotive and preventive care. Actually, there is a saying, there's actually a paper also in the British Journal, that if you spend 1 rupee on prevention, you save more than 5 rupees on curative part. But somehow I think this focus has not been there all these years. And in the last budget also, government put 30,000 crores on promotive and preventive health. For example, sanitation, nutrition, good drinking water. Unless you build on those, you will continue to have problems in the curative part. Anyway, NCD disease burden, the book has been released recently by HPI and CMC Vellore, The Lifestyle as Medicine. And that is a fact. So if you adopt those lifestyle, NCDs, they will come down. But it will again take time, a lot of awareness has to go into the mind of the people. Medical legal cases, unfortunately, are also increasing. And today doctors are very worried that if they do one mistake here, one mistake there, this documentation, that documentation, advocates are sitting outside and tell patient that if you have problem, come to us. So I think anyway, this also has to be addressed. But what I will be showing you, what I have shown in the red, bit on data on shortage of the healthcare workforce, shortage of the hospital beds, and absence of tertiary care in Tier 3, financial, and of course, bit on patient safety. Now, this is the statistics. This is about, you can say, 2.5-year-old. Roughly, you can say 20% beds have increased from this time. But I am not showing you because unless we get the authenticated data. So this is more or less the authenticated data based on the work from the HPI and one of the NGO we involved, in this one. Now, what is important here, that if you count this total number of beds and get into the population figure, then it will roughly come 1.4 beds per 1,000 population. What is the requirement of WHO? 3.5 beds per 1,000 population. So we have to go more than double in India to reach to that figure. So in short, I want to tell you that there is a huge potential still in growth of the healthcare industry. That is one. Actually, I have been in the government for all these years. And when we used to sit in the meeting for planning commission that time, it was not Niti Aayog. So, people used to tell us that first 30 years of India's budget, you can say, went on roti, kapda, makan, basic needs. Next 30 years came, if you have heard slogan in election, bijli, sadak, pani. The election, used to be on those, nobody used to talk about education, nobody used to talk about healthcare. So 60 years gone into that. Only now, rest of, time, let us say 15 years, we have started talking seriously about the healthcare. 2015, we got the new health policy. 2018, we launched biggest insurance scheme of the world, Ayushman Bharat. वो कैसे भी है, लेकिन it is the biggest scheme. 2019 and 20, National Digital Health Mission, again. So if these two schemes, Ayushman Bharat and National Digital Health Mission, if they succeed, India will become leader in the healthcare. Now it is up to us how many years we take to, fructify those two schemes. So anyway, so this is what actually has happened. Unfortunately, even today, we have not been able to allocate budget for the healthcare. It is less than 2% of GDP. While global average, if you can see, is a 9.5% of GDP, global average. USA spends 18%. Luckily for us, the private sector has come in and they are contributing about 3% of GDP. So in all, 5% is still not bad. So I think this is what has to be explained to the population also. That if you were stuck with the government with the 2%, I think there wouldn't have been any infrastructure. And I want to remember Dr. Pratap Reddy. Of course, he's still there, and we gave him the award of lifetime award for leader of century just in the last conclave. Because this is the man who created private sector in 1982-83. And still, I will say, our downtown friend sitting here, first hospital of that level, and that still remains credible till today in Northeast. So anyway, I think that has been the contribution of the private sector. Okay, no. It is moving from here, na, यहाँ से. अच्छा, okay. ये थोड़ा सा, I will not spend time on this one. We again, that study which we have carried out, just I wanted to show you that how much is the, differentiation in healthcare sector in northern, eastern, western India. So if you see, this is the northern. The average is now 1.5 beds, total average of the northern states. See the average of the southern states, 2.78. कितना फर्क है दोनों में? So I think southern India took lead role in, getting into the healthcare, and that's where they are. And Karnataka is the leader here in India with a 4.2 beds per thousand population. Kerala is a little behind, 2.9, that means 3 beds per thousand population. ईस्टर्न का डेटा अभी बहुत वैलिडेट नहीं हुआ है. असम इज 0.77 and overall is 1.0. So I think a lot of work is required to be done in the northeastern state. But I am told in past 2.5 years after this study, there has been major thrust by private sector. Government के वही है, लेकिन private sector में काफ़ी अभी लोगों ने हॉस्पिटल बनाए हैं. We will get the data updated, and when we made the presentation next time, we will come to you with the updated data. But हालत फिर भी अच्छी नहीं है. It is only 1. And this is the western 1.4. You see, the idea of showing you this slide is, by the way, we have not shown you the state Bihar. यहाँ पे बिहार आपको नज़र नहीं आ रहा है. I didn't want to show you because Bihar is 0.3 beds per thousand population. 0.3. तो सारे बिहार के लोग बेचारे पूरे देश में भागते रहते हैं. I am sure they are coming to Guwahati also from Bihar. 0.3 beds per thousand population. So bad. Anyway, okay. Now, financial challenge is also bothering us. Why bothering us? Firstly, high cost which I sometimes attribute to the technology. Initial investment, जिसको हम capex बोलते हैं, we have to invest. But let us not forget one thing. At the time of independence, the average life expectancy in India was how much? It was between 32 to 37, because some data says 32, some data says 37. But itna hi tha. Life expectancy in India was, let us say, around 34. Aaj kitni hai? Today the life expectancy is 73. How it has happened? It has happened only because of advancement into the healthcare. Technology, specialization, doctors' commitment, nurses' commitment, and all that thing has now brought us to 73. Our next target is to reach 82, 83, which is Japan and South Korea. So, this small increase in the cost is paying us long run to give you the quality of life as well as the longevity. That, anyway, the high perceived cost is also because, as I told you, you compare with the public sector. वहाँ तो free है. Free means money of the public. तो इसलिए वो important नहीं है. Most crucial point is the point number 3. Government now is overdriving bringing universal health coverage in India, and they are opening up this Ayushman Bharat, and now they have brought 70 plus population into the Ayushman Bharat. And let me take some credit out of it. Alex knows about it, that we were the first to submit a strong paper when the manifesto was being developed by BJP. And we told them that you bring 65 plus into Ayushman Bharat. अब हमारी वजह से किया है या किसकी वजह से किया है, but at least they have brought 70 plus. So, point is now, then there is a CGHS, ECHS, ESI, PSU scheme, all those if you try, and then the private insurance. But private insurance I will not count for the time being. Roughly today, about 60 or 58%, as per our friend in Niti Aayog, Dr. Vinod Paul, he says around 58% of population today is covered under the government schemes. And you can say another 12 to 14% is by the private insurance. So roughly his figure is that almost 70% of India population has got some cover or other. So we are in very happy state. 70% population के पास अगर cover है, तो we are very close to achieving universal health coverage. But problem कहाँ रही है, that this 58% population which is under the government schemes, the rates of reimbursements are absolutely illogical because they have not been done on the scientific basis. Lot of work we are doing with the government, little bit improvement is happening. Then there is a delay in payment, so cash flow is affected. So the hospital today, with the high technology investment, is finding it very difficult because 58% people are coming through schemes. So this is the one thing which we have to address, without which we will not be able to progress. So this is, I consider, again, a very serious challenge to the healthcare industry. Insurance coverage, of course, is increasing, private. I think we have to educate our community. This all hospitals must do it. You must educate to the people that you need a private insurance if you are not covered under government insurance scheme. And anyway, so this is one. But let me also talk about few opportunities which we have. One is increase in the healthcare awareness, so the demand is increasing. So we have to be prepared. This is a good point for us, good sign for us. Setting up of 100-bedded hospital in tier 3 towns, this is possible only when you set up the hospital in association with some big hospital in tier 2 or tier 1. Because of your own, if you set up the hospital in tier 3 town, you will not find a specialist. So the good advice is, and government is very seriously considering now to give you incentives if you set up the hospital in tier 3 towns. As per Prime Minister, he is wanting 3,000 new hospitals in Tier 3 town. But let us see how it happens. This, of course, I told you that Ayushman Bharat and digitization is providing us a good opportunity to expand into this market. Focusing on wellness and preventive health can also become a vertical in your own hospital. This can be a business vertical if you take it seriously. Use of green cost and optimizing cost-cutting tools is another way of bringing down your operational cost, which healthcare industry has still not done it. Look at the automobile industry, how efficient they are. They use Six Sigma, Lean, they use quality cost, I don't know, everything they use. But we have not still got into this mindset. And we have to create, because geriatric care, home health, end of life, these are the areas which if you can set up within your hospital, it will give you new branding, new business and opportunity to serve to the community. So these are some of the opportunities. And lastly, I thought this is a workshop on patient safety. I must show you 1 or 2 slides on patient safety. So Dr. Alex, of course, has defined everything he has put in his lecture. But the point is to be understood here. When you bring hell of a lot of technology, it improves diagnostic. But obviously there will be errors. When you are using so much of technology, so much of specialization, there used to be MBBS 50 years back, now we have got fellows in the same. So, when you are operating in that complex environment, there are, let us say, advantages and advantages, but simultaneously there will be errors, and there are visible errors now. Earlier, errors were not visible. Now, because of technology and awareness, they are visible. So, that is where this patient safety subject has evolved. And thanks to NABH, I think today India is aware about it. Each doctor knows how do I do it and everything. So this is where actually patient safety is nothing but being aware about, being conscious about it. And last 2 slides are, I will not go through it, because I can tell you, if you just follow these tips, virtually you are covering NABH. Because healthcare quality is all about clinical quality, and what is the other component of quality? Clinical, and what else? Which people don't follow. That is what Alex taught you. You see, my own personal assessment today, while we have made huge advancement into clinical quality, but service quality, empathy, communication, ye sare factors, they are coming down. If you want to bring the image and brand of your hospital, let me tell you, patient does not know this aspect. This is known to your doctors, nurses, staff. They will assess you only on this. So if you want to be careful about the branding of your hospital, focus on everything. I think you have to put a lot of effort, build culture, leadership, empowerment, and that's what my last slide is, that if you want to build a culture of quality, patient safety, everything, of course it starts from leadership and empowerment. I am still afraid. One of the hospitals in Mumbai, I remember 30 years back, I went and saw their registration desk. And they said, this is the in charge of patient registration who is IIM Ahmedabad graduate. I was wondering, IIM Ahmedabad ka ladka yahan pe laga diya hai unhone. But they were so right. Because they knew that front desk is a staff. They build the image of hospital. हम कई बार जो सबसे बेकार आदमी होता है उसको फ्रंट डेस्क में बिठा देते हैं, यू नो, कई बार, आई एम जस्ट जोकिंग। तो ये आपको करना है, दैट यू हैव टू बिल्ड दैट कल्चर। इफ आई हैव नॉट यूज द वर्ड हियर ओनरशिप, when you empower the staff to the extent that they take ownership, तब मयूराक्षी आप घर में 10 दिन बैठ सकती हो। What I am saying, leadership, they can go and enjoy holiday if they have got team of empowered people who have taken ownership. Ownership is the key word. बाकी देखिए सारा चीज़ आपके सामने है, you know, सब कुछ आपको ये फॉलो करना है। सो इट इज़ ए कल्चर बिल्डिंग एक्सरसाइज एंड नॉट ए सिंपल कोई आपने सर्टिफिकेशन ले लिया। सो एनीवे, आई एम श्योर यू नो वी आर द वे वी आर ग्रोइंग इन कॉन्शियसनेस। सो वंस अगेन थैंकिंग डाउनटाउन मैनेजमेंट फॉर ब्रिंगिंग दिस काइंड ऑफ पीपल हियर अंडर वन रूफ। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
We would now take the privilege to felicitate Dr. Girdhar Gyani, sir. Thank you, sir. With a fulam gamucha, a stole, a memento, and a gift. I request Ms. Mayurakshi Datta, ma'am, to please come on the stage and do the honors. Thank you. I now hand over the proceedings of the workshop to Ms. Monosweta Gracie Shaw.
Thank you, Ms. Kaveri. I extend my warm wishes to each and everyone present here as we are gathered here to exchange ideas and visions on vivid aspects of patient safety. I, Monosweta Gracie Shaw, dietitian of Downtown Hospital, take the opportunity to lead on the session further. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our next speaker, as he has left an indelible mark in the field of healthcare safety management. He is Dr. Udayan Borwa, sir. Dr. Udayan Borwa is the medical superintendent and consultant obstetrician gynecologist at Downtown Hospital, Guwahati. A distinguished alumnus of Dibrugarh University, he secured the second position in MBBS with honors in physiology and went on to complete his MD in obstetrics and gynecology. Dr. Borwa has further specialized in gynecological endoscopy, receiving advanced training at the University of Kiel, Germany. He has also pursued management courses at prestigious institutions such as IIM Ahmedabad and Harvard School of Public Health. Enhancing his leadership and administrative expertise in the medical field, Dr. Borwa has held significant leadership roles, including Executive Director at All India Limited, where he had led the hospital's ISO accreditation and introduced laparoscopic sterilization in Assam way back in 1981. He has also worked as registrar at the Royal Infirmary, Glasgow, and HOD of Obstetrics and Gynecology at All India Hospital. He played a pivotal role in healthcare CSR initiatives and research collaborations with ICMR on hemoglobinopathies and malaria control. Under his leadership, 6 groundbreaking patient safety workshops were organized in Northeast, the first of their kind in the region. A staunch advocate for healthcare quality, he has contributed as faculty in numerous conferences and published insightful articles on patient safety in the Assam Tribune and other platforms as well. He has also delivered lectures on organ donation and led the STAR program. Dr. Barua's contribution have been recognized with several awards, including the Distinguished Service Award from Delhi Medical Association and appreciation from the Assam Medical Tourism Council. A fellow esteemed medical organization, he exemplifies dedication in advancing healthcare and community welfare. On this very note, sir, may I now request Dr. Udayan Barua to honor us with your valuable insights on proactive safety management in healthcare safety approach. Welcome, sir.
অফ কৰিলে বেটাৰ Good morning, everybody, distinguished invited guests and my colleagues. Well, it is very difficult to speak on a subject after the two stalwarts in Indian and in the international scenario, my friend Dr. Alexander Thomas and Sri Giridhar Gyani sir. Well, I'll try to do justice. I represent Downtown Hospital, and patient safety is in the core of my heart. Whenever we talk about patient safety, any reference we have to give to WHO. WHO has given this reference, and this was way back in 2004. Absence of preventable harm and reduction of unnecessary harm. Since 2004, 2 decades have passed. But where are you now? Where are we now? Gyani sir has mentioned about universal health coverage. Unless we pay attention to our safety programs, to the hospital safety, community safety, safety everywhere, the whole program is going to be derailed. Because of one simple reason. If you have one dissatisfied patient in your hospital, it will dissuade 10 or more patients to come to the hospital and going to somewhere else, including quacks. So where will be the coverage if we do not do justice to our patient safety? This is the reason why it is very core to my heart. Then what is the traditional ways? Why we have not advanced the way we wanted to do? It is because most of us, we still think safety in the traditional way. Minimizing adverse outcome, freedom from accidental injury, maintain harm below acceptable limit through a continuous process of hazard identification and risk management. These are from AHRQ and ICAO. These gentlemen, so we have to think differently. Since we have so many young generation here, I request you to think differently for what we are doing till now. We have to, each of one, we have to be a think tank. so that we think differently and bring changes in our patient safety attitude. So this gentleman, way back in 2013, he published an article in 2013 in Nuclear Safety and Simulations. See, most of our patient safety initiatives we have taken from the industries, mostly aviation, nuclear, because where they have to maintain the 100% safety. So he is basically a scientist as well as social worker. He always used to think differently. He has published these one, A Tale of Two Safeties, and Safety 1 and Safety 2 in 2014. And also this was in the book Past and Future of Safety Management. This is an excellent book. You can download from the internet. I request all the youngsters to have a look at it. Now, what is Safety 1? It is a traditional approach. We assume that everything what is written on the books, everything that is written on in the protocol, everybody in the hospital from A to Z will follow, and result will be obvious. If somebody does not follow, result will not be as expected. So this is the basic framework of Safety 1. And when everything goes well, we don't bother. When something goes wrong, we try to find out a cause and try to find out a culprit who has done this mischief and wants to punish. Absolutely wrong. And that's why the program has not succeeded so far, at almost 2 decades have passed. And this is a linear process. Healthcare is so complex, as Dr. Gyani and Thomas has said, it's a very, very complex. It is not like any industry. So you cannot have a linear approach. This has gone wrong, so you fix the problem, the output will be good. Never. In the Safety 1, the emphasis one on non-conformities. That means somebody has done wrong. Emphasis on the adverse outcome. So this is a pictorial presentation. Normal functioning, when the compliance is good, everybody is happy. And unwanted transitions, it can be sudden over the years, or it can be gradual. Malfunctioning or non-compliance, unacceptable. This is Safety 1 view of failure and success. Again, WHO has simplified it. The number 1 is measure harm, understand causes, identify solutions, evaluate impact, and translate evidence into safe care. That means we learn only from mistakes. Okay. Now what is Safety 2? Safety 1 we have said, linear process. You work as per the protocol. Something goes wrong, you are to blame or somebody to blame, find and fix the solution. Now what is Safety 2? It is a system which is linked to health system resilience. The word resilience everybody knows, but during COVID time everybody was talking about resilience because universally all our healthcare system has failed. They were not immune to any external forces or sudden forces. So the resilience that has been introduced in the Safety 2 focus on how everyday performance usually goes rather than why it occasionally fails. You observe, suppose in a healthcare, suppose right from the beginning to the end, a patient enters here and goes well. You are following the protocol, you are happy. But you have to study how it is going well instead of looking at the unsatisfied patients. So that is the crux of this Safety 2 program. You have to improve everyday performance. It is not that you do an audit every month, you have to find out the causes and do something. No. You have to everyday study how everyday function is going on. You will get innumerable links how to improve your functioning. It provides countless opportunities, and we focus on as many things as possible go right, not on as many things as go wrong. But unfortunately, little encouragement is made because I will show you the reason. See this. This is a very interesting slide. If you focus on the safety one, that is on the right side, on the safety one, if you focus only this area, that is on the right side, that is red, you will get only less than 1%. So all your actions will be diverted here. But we are not bothered how the other areas are functioning, that is focus on safety 2, all other areas, how they are functioning. So you are focusing only in one portion. Anyway, this one is, let us talk about 10,000 events. If you focus on safety 1 failure in 10,000, you will be focusing only on one. Rest, what will happen to the 9,999? So our focus should be on the green areas, not on the 8 to 9. 8 to 9. Pointer. Okay, fine. So we should focus on these green areas where there are numerous opportunities. Then now, what is the difference between safety 1? This is a numerical presentation. The focus, safety 1, prevention of failure and accidents, that is on the 1 out of 10,000. And safety 2, you put importance of resilience and adaptability to manage the health system in adverse circumstances. And perspective, it is the problem-centric. Whenever there is a problem, all of us will jump on it and try to find solutions. In safety 2, it is a system-centric. You think about the system and try to concentrate and make all your efforts how to make this system resilient. And safety 1, as I told you, it emphasizes on compliance of standards and perspective. Gyani sir has already said, you do everything on the compliance. Patients, they do not know. So they do not know. They want the outcome. They know the result. So that has to be augmented by many other factors, where the human factors come in. The response is, first one is reactive, and second one is proactive. And measurement, whenever there is an accident, suppose in one accident in 1,000 cases, so this is good. 2 accidents in 1,000 cases, the whole system is back. It cannot be. And human factor in safety 1, it is a liability. So that means when something goes wrong, people are at fault, not the system. So it's a liability, whether in safety 2, it is an asset. The shifting focus on human factor, not only in patient safety, but also in other industries, it was not there before. In 1444, in Venice, the Rialto bridge collapsed. So everybody blamed the bridge. That is a passive infrastructure. Not on the people, how many people they were there. 1750, the second industrial revolution, including unstable steam engine. The focus was only on technology and guarding them, not a word about human. The main importance on human factor came from the accident at the 3 Mile nuclear power plant in States, where it was a human factor plus other factors. The human factor was that lead 2 reactors were functioning, it started malfunctioning, the cooling water should come, but as per the protocol, cooling water cannot come when it is running, only after certain time. So operator did not close the lid. So that triggered it. So human factor is very, very important. It was understood. In Bhopal disaster also we know, Chernobyl also we know. In nutshell, safety 2, humans are assets. They are not liability. This is safety 2 view of the failures and success. Performance adjustment, this is the key. But before I go there, I would like to inform you that humans are assets everywhere, including the healthcare. So in our hospital, we consider the humans as the greatest asset. That's why we make a study. Last conference, I presented a study, second victim experience. Suppose something goes wrong, then patients suffer, but what about the doctors, nurses, other? They also suffer. So we made a study, we presented the paper, and the second phase is going on. First phase is over, we take some remedial measures, now the second phase is going on. Maybe in the next conference I will let you know. This is very important for retention of your trusted employees as well as for the society. So in performance adjustment, this is the key word in case of safety too. That means what is happening, I'll give you. Say we have a lot of nursing students here. You have this VIP score for assessing this superficial phlebitis in case of infusion. There are certain state standards. You have the well scores to identify DVD. You have the certain state standards. But these set standards you follow and document. But this may require some variation when you correlate with the patient. And that adjustment, performance adjustment, can be done by human, not by machine. But too much of performance variability, too much of deviation is also not acceptable. When there is a performance variation and you get the result, you acknowledge. But that has to be monitored. You don't allow anybody to go haywire. And you have to control in that case. Few tips: look at what goes right as well as what goes wrong. Look for everyday performance variability. Blaming people for what they usually do may be counteracted. That is what I'm saying. You know that everything is going fine. But when you go for inspection, you see that there is some variation. Don't blame, because it is those variations which you need to study whether it can be implemented throughout the hospital for better result. Blaming people, as already we have said, it will be counterproductive. A small improvement on everyday's performance makes most impact. That we should always think about it. Allow time to reflect your workers. Don't, if you allow them 8 hours to do duty only, without any relaxation, without any chance to talk among themselves, you will not be able to identify gap and bridge them. And remain sensible to the possibility of failure. Don't blame. So again, coming back to the same slide, little variation. On the left side, on the red one, it is accidents and accidents obvious, which is obvious internally as well as externally. Middle portion, this is not in routine, normal, day-to-day work. Nobody observes. Everybody is happy because things are going well. And on the extreme right side, exceptional performance. With normal activity also, you are having exceptional performance. Nobody recognizes that. So the curve, the dotted one, we should try to do measures and try to shift the graph towards the exceptional performance. And that is possible by safety one, that is elimination of hazards and prevention of failure, then resilient safety management, both together, then it becomes the safety two. Now, another term has been introduced, safety tree. So somebody has said, especially one lady, Emerson, she has said that enough of safety 1 and safety 2, let us talk about safety 3. She is a nucleus computer scientist, so he was she was innovating, she was in MIT. What she has defined, freedom from unacceptable losses, system approach to safety, highlights the uses of hazard analysis. I'll explain a little bit. She says that human cannot play a major role to prevent accident. It is the system which must be designed in such a way that little flexibility allowed on the part of the operator to handle unexpected event. But this is very small, not big. Entire socio-technical system must be designed to prevent hazards, and she considers both linear and socio-technical systems. Something goes wrong, linear system is there, as well as the socio-technical system. Technical part also have to be considered. And this is the comparison. I have already mentioned safety one is a reactive, as few things, goal is as few things as possible go wrong. Safety, as we study as many things as possible go right. And safety 3 is designed as freedom from unacceptable losses as defined by the system stakeholders. That is a very dangerous thing in my opinion, because system, all of us are system teachers. For me or for the one system D, it may be minimum, but for others it may be very high. So we cannot accept in toto. Then attitude of the human factor. In safety one, humans are liability. They are not following protocol, something has gone wrong, blame them. In safety two, humans are as a resource person. They are the system, they make the flexibility, the variability, and you get the result. And in system, as I have mentioned, it must be designed in such a way that there is a little sense of flexibility, and humans play a very, very limited role. In nutshell, in safety 1 and safety 3, both of them learn from failure. But in safety 2, you learn through what goes right, day-to-day activities. Uncertainties and risks are not integral aspect of safety 3. In these days of robot and AI, people claim that uncertainties and risk will not be there. I'm an old-timer. I don't believe it till today. Maybe in some future days it may be possible. Now, what is the way forward? Staying in safety 1 approach alone will be grossly inadequate. Total abandonment in safety 1 is also not possible because you have to have the proper documentation, everything. So if you do not follow the protocol, with slight deviation whenever it is identified, there can be legal problem. So safety 1 and safety 2 better together, not marriage, not divorce, but marriage. Then world scenario, taking this concept into view, different research going on all over the world. USA adopted in all children hospital safety 2 approach. It is ongoing. And take home message, safety management might look things ahead to ensure that things go right, not to look for things that go wrong. Thank you very much. It's okay. Last one, investment in safety. As he has said, you invest 5 rupees, you will get 10 rupees. So investment in safety is not a cost, but it's an input who will give large dividends. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom, sir. We are indeed enlightened with your speech, sir. May I now take the time to call upon Dr. Girdhar Gyani, sir, to felicitate Dr. Udayan Barua, sir, with a Fulam Gamusa, a memento, and a small gift as a token of love. Continuing with the program, may I take the time to introduce Dr. Vinci Ashok Tribhuvan. Dr. Vinci Ashok Tribhuvan, Vice President of Nursing Administration at Care Group of Hospitals, is a highly accomplished healthcare leader with over 30 years of experience in nursing and hospital management. She leads a team of 3,000 nurses, driving excellence in patient care, operational efficiency, and nursing governance. Dr. Tribhuvan holds credentials in RN, RM, PBBSc, PG, DHHM, MBA, HM, and a PhD in healthcare management. She is recognized for her transformative leadership and innovative approaches to healthcare delivery. Her achievements have earned her significant recognition, including being featured among India's 20 most influential women in healthcare 2024 by the Industry Insights magazine, and winning Jobs for Her Rising Award in the year 2022 at the national level in the Women in Healthcare category. In 2021, she was highlighted in Impact Stories that Inspire by the Global Green and Healthy Hospitalship Initiative. Dr. Tribhuvan is the National General Secretary of the Association of Nurse Executives of India and was an official participant in a Guinness Book World Record for the largest pressure ulcer awareness lesson. Additionally, she has served as a former advisory board member for the Nurses of India Journal. Her expertise lies in redesigning policies and processes, strengthening nursing governance, and fostering competency and capacity building among nurses. Passionate about delivering quality care and enhancing patient experiences, Dr. Tribhuvan focuses on initiatives that align clinical excellence with business outcomes. She is a strong advocate for girl education and empowerment, an avid reader and committed to fitness goals, embodying a holistic approach to personal and professional growth. I am delighted to invite Dr. Vincy Ashok Tribhuvan onto the stage to share her valuable insights. Ma'am.
Thank you so much. This mic, somehow I felt, Hello. Can I have a mic? Yeah, please. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, please. Just, have it.
Hello.
So, very good morning to everyone. First of all, let me take this opportunity to thank Downtown University, the organizers, and all who have been instrumental. And I am so glad that I did not, I made it, happen, and I came here. And you have heard from some of the best of the men in the Indian healthcare. Mr. Gyani, Dr. Gyani, Dr. Alexander, and your medical superintendent. Of course, some more men are yet to come, and they have encompassed most comprehensive aspects of patient safety. And I love my topic, that is missed nursing care, and that is the basic to patient safety, because a nurse is the one, you might have seen that famous image, she stands in the front, in the center, and so many lines connecting her to all the important stakeholders in healthcare, starting with your patients and relative to the management. And I would be touching on the very, very basic things which you need to remember in patient safety, which you will take home today. Because any event is not an event to dress beautifully and come and be on stage or be here and go away in 2 days. You need to take something back home. You need to invest that among your colleagues, among your patients. That is what this program is all about. So may I know how many nursing personnel are here? Please put up your hand. Oh, that's quite a number. Then my talk would be a little interesting now. Thank you so much. So let us start this with a small ice breaking, because very knowledgeable men, too much of knowledge, it's kind of little more serious. Let us have an ice breaking session about everyday life of a nurse. It goes up or down? This is video. Can you please? Yeah.
What time doctor will come? Where is doctor, nurse? What time doctor will come? What time Dr. Ji will come? What time Dr. Ji will come, nurse? This bottle is over, nurse. Remove it, nurse. Remove it, please. My glucose is over. Remove it, please. Remove it. Remove it now only. It's urgent. I want all the tubes to be removed from my body now. Nurse, it's an emergency. Nurse, call doctor fast, nurse.
Why? What happened?
I think I'm having fever, nurse. Call him fast, nurse.
Okay, take this drug. Wait for some time. By the time I'll call the doctor, okay?
This drug? What do you know about drugs? So, nurse, you are just a nurse only. Call doctor, nurse. He knows more about drugs. What, nurse Ji? Why are you calling me for small things? I've written everything on his chart. Nah, I've written whenever he's having fever, just give him PCM SOS.
When did you write that?
Just few seconds back, man. When should I take it? Before food? Can I take it after taking water? After juice? After drinking milk? With cold drink can I take? How many times I have to tell you, Sister Ji? If anything happens in this ward, call me, inform me, Sister Ji. You have my number. Now because of you, consultant gonna me. Excuse me. Actually, they are calling nurse. You know where is nurse? Yes, I am nurse. You? But you are a male, no? Boy, nurse. Are you from Kerala? No. No, huh? What is this, Sister Ji? This light is also not working. Why didn't you call the technician and get it repaired, huh? Look at this. This scissor is also not working. At least do something in this OT, no? Not useless. Nurse, why didn't you prepare that patient for surgery? Now because of you, this surgery is delayed. Look at this patient. Why he is having food now? He's on NPO, no? I have written in orders. Sister Ji, you are not doing anything. What, Sister Ji? Nothing is there in this ward. Where is 16 French folic acid? Okay, I got it. Where is the form? Where is the patient? Nothing is there in this ward. I'm going. Why this patient's bedside is not cleaned, huh? In our time, we used to clean whole hospital by ourselves, okay? You guys are lazy, don't know anything. You just only have bookish knowledge, don't do anything also. Okay? Why all these registers are not filled? All these registers and charts, why they are not filled?
I was on leave. Today only I joined.
Acha, you will back talk to senior, huh? You will back talk to me, you will reply me back, huh? From here now, you will do all the night duties, all the duties on holidays and Sunday, and no leave for you. Let's see how these registers are not filled then.
I can go forward. So this is the one I have to press. How was it? I think a very, very brief of what a ground level nurse goes through, and it is not something to laugh about. Of course, it is funny, but at the same time, this is a ground level reality, and nurse is at the ground level facing so many people, so many issues, and that is maybe one of the reason for her missing her care or her patient care being delayed. So the video has got some connection to today's topic, missed nursing care. So you will understand the missed nursing care and the impact on the patient safety and how to identify strategies to mitigate that and ensure patient safety. So missed nursing care is simply our daily things which we forget. We went to attend a patient, but we forgot to put his side rails up. We delayed the medication. We just forgot to give complete handover. Or just, we have missed something very critical to inform to her concerned doctor. Very, very basic things which I'm sure some of you were on duty yesterday might have missed, of course. So that's it. But the implications of nursing care on patient safety are very, very significant. My eminent speakers, others who have dealt in the topic in detail of the emotional, financial burden, the healthcare burden it can lead to in details. The prevalence and impact, we just feel, I just missed one dose. I just missed this. I just forgot to tell him this. The doctor shouted at me very badly. But can you see the prevalence here? Not only in India, globally, across so many countries. What is the prevalence and the implications of the same on our patients? So how does it impact our patients? I'll be dealing in detail with every aspects which is mentioned here. It increases the risk of adverse patient outcome, delayed detection and intervention, compromised patient experience. Nowadays, the healthcare is investing 40% into patient experience. Patient delight, we don't even call it now patient experience. It is delight. The pricing, the product has taken a back seat. Patient experience. So patient experience, irrespective of cutting-edge technology, high-end infrastructure, comes from human factors. And what does this human factors get attributed to? It is simply the attitude of the healthcare professional who are at the bedside. It is simply the attitude, the behavior, and the human factors. So, of course, patient experience and satisfaction gets compromised. There are coordination, communication gap, because once something is delayed, once an event happens, your entire journey of the patient throughout the day gets compromised. It has got high cost, length of stay more, and lack of beds, staffing, workload, burnout issues. Of course, it has got various legal and ethical consequences, and team morale will be affected, and collaboration. So simply, missed nursing care can lead to several adverse events, as nurses are integral to monitoring, managing, and preventing complications. I call nurses as the police women. Now, a surgery cannot be done without informed consent. And many hospitals, as soon as I had come here, Manasi Sengupta, your Dean of the Nursing College, is my friend. And nursing empowerment is very close to my heart. I asked her, how is nursing empowerment here? So for me, the salary, the position comes at second and third stage, but inclusiveness and empowerment of nursing is the first thing which is very integral to our patient safety. Now, as simple as informed consent. Who is supposed to take the consent? Anyone? Who is supposed to take the informed consent? Doctor? Are we sure? Yes, it is doctors. Okay? The doctor who is performing the surgery. But what we expect in Haribari? Nurse le lo na. To ek hi to form hai. But have we informed our patient the potential complications? So here shortly, because I have been given only 45 minutes, I would say that taking consent is the doctor's job, but ensuring there is consent available before shifting the patient to OT is a nursing job. So I call nurse's job as the guardian angels of our patient and the police woman who stands in the center and advocates for patient safety. So simply, any medication given late, delayed, wrong medication, infection. I simply don't want to do catheter sterilization. I don't want to comply by all those bundle. This in charge doesn't have any work. All the time she's coming and checking whether I comply to this, that, my documentation is right and all that. Falls, injuries, nutritional deficiency because of simply wrong diet, or maybe a diet change is there, you don't want to inform anybody. All this can lead to increased risk of adverse patient outcomes. Nurses are key in observing changes in patient condition. Missed nursing care often results in delayed deterioration. You went, most of the time what happened, patient rings the bell for something. I am a person who says, in one nursing call bell, you can solve so many of the things. We label patients. Oh, ये तो हमेशा bell बजाते रहते हैं, इसको कुछ काम ही नहीं है. But rather than going and mechanically entertaining that one nurse call bell, in 1 minute more, just invest 1 more minute, you can take care of all the needs of patient, and who knows, for 2-3 hours, that patient might not call you. Put his trial rails up. Give the nurse call bell to him. Give his water, his glasses, paper, maybe a urinal near to him. Tell, sir, I am genuinely busy, but you want anything urgently, do call me, but I have ensured everything which you require is near your bed. It just needs one human touch and 1 minute investment from you to prevent a fall, to prevent all those ding, 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 so many call bells. Compromised patient experience and satisfaction. Just one error. Once the patient and relatives come to know this nurse or this doctor, this hospital has done something wrong to me. Maybe as simple as a small, very small change of medication, a diet, the trust is broken. When the trust is broken in healthcare, it is very hard to rebuild. You may tell, one day's fee I will waive off, something more I will give, I will put you in a VIP list, but nothing works. In their heart, the trust is broken. So we are there, you have to be very careful. You are not only standing for your own integrity, but for your hospital and organizational integrity and reputation. Poor coordination and communication. It happens because of handover failures. You do not follow a proper handover format. Even you follow, but you are not just interested in telling the incoming girl what is pending, what is remaining to be done. Or maybe sometime you are not able to reach to the doctor. That simple information I have been calling the doctor, he did not pick up. So these kind of handover failures lead to fragmented care and most important, underreported problems. The fear, the punity culture in the organization prevents the nurse reporting the error. In one of the hospital most recent incident, one lethal dose was given to a pediatric onco patient. Can you imagine, most of us are here, parents here, with what kind of emotions we bring to our children to the hospital, especially. One injection you want to give to your child, you are so scared. You look other way. But when the other patient is put, maybe a 13, 12-year-old boy, oncology, he is affected with the cancer. He is undergoing so much of treatment. What would the parents might be going? And that child is infused with a lethal dose of some other medication. There was a nurse who did that. Of course, other factors contributed to that. She could have kept quiet. The boy would have died within 24 hours. But it is just an incident 2 months back. But she came forward. She told the in charge, I did this mistake. What can we do? So, without believing in non-punitive system, because when you believe, immediately nurse ko nikalo, then that is, you will have more underreported problems under the carpet. Rather, she came forward, the hospital could do some corrective action immediately, the child was saved. So please believe in non-punitive system and also look at the system errors. If the nurse has done, if the doctor has done, is he the only person responsibility? Do the root cause analysis, where the actual problem lies. If you do not correct it, it will be a reoccurring problem. You will be ending into more problems. Missed nursing care can have a ripple of effect on the broader healthcare system with longer hospital stays. I just did not do a pressure, back care properly. Patient developed pressure ulcer. He is occupying one important bed. Rehospitalization, how it occurs. Patient is for discharge. How many of you are focusing on discharge education? How many of you are preparing your patient for discharge? One of my favorite questions in my audience, when do you prepare your patients for discharge? Now people say, ma'am, 5th day, 3rd day, but it is on the first day of the admission, patient gets prepared for discharge. Because most favorite question to the doctor, sir, hum ghar kab jayenge? Correct? So even doctor, entire healthcare system prepares for the discharge on the first day. So if a patient has to go home, as simple as insulin, as simple as a rice tube feeding, how many of you have taken interest in teaching the relatives and has got a teach back? What is teach back? What you have shown to them, let them show it back to you. And once you are confident, then only you discharge the patient. So if you have missed all of this, I can go on and on in the fall prevention. A vulnerable patient, how many of you have taught the relatives how to prevent a fall at home? So this all leads to rehospitalization and increased healthcare cost, not only to the organization, but to the patient and relative. It also often results in insufficient staffing, heavy workloads, and burnout. Because, because of the workload, it is a chakravyuh. Because of the workload, nurse misses the care, delays the care, again, but it ends into so many other problems, again the attrition, again the burnout. So from the beginning itself, the request to the nurse leaders here, the management here, to give adequate nurse-patient ratio and to look after the well-being of the nurses as per the norms, as per the, if some accredited bodies, if International Nursing Council has given a ratio, it is after much thought, it is after much study, and we need to adhere. We cannot, where you have to give 1:6 for one nurse, 6 patients, you cannot adjust that into 10 patients, and then you expect that poor soul to comply with all the standards of patient care. Of course, it has got various legal and ethical consequences, not only to the self, but to the organization, damaging the reputation of the hospital. Team morale will be low, there will be blame culture, it will not be a good cohesive environment to work. So many effects will be there because of just some missing cares. Let us now touch very briefly, because the time is very short, IPSG goals. How many of you know all 6 IPSG goals? Nurses. Even doctors should know, even the management should know, because patient safety starts from top to down, not down to top. It has to percolate from the management. And if the management invests adequate time and policies, process in ensuring the patient safety, I am sure things will be, commendable at the ground level. Coming back to, one person can tell me the common 6 IPSG goals. Faster. Who will tell me? Yeah, please. Yes, sir. Okay. Right identification, effective communication. Take mic, sir.
Identify patient correctly, effective communication, improve high-risk drugs, and ensure correct site, correct position, correct patient surgery, then prevent hospital-acquired infection, and last one is to prevent fall.
Thank you so much. Give him a round of applause. Because I am sure all of you know some of it and all of it. But it takes courage to speak in this forum. And nurses, as healthcare workers, we should possess that courage, that bravery, that advocacy for our patient. And it starts from these kind of forums. So simply see, a medication order received, she just skips the verification. Why does she skip? Because mostly what we do? Bed number 406, bed number 507. And in the night, 406 got shifted to 408. The entire care process in the day gets shifted. Because we simply do not want to identify our patient by name. All of us has got employee ID, correct? My ID is 36063. How would hello? Can I have your attention, please? How would I be interested? How would I be feeling if all the time my chairman calls, hey, 36063, please come here. Go to your emotions, go into your head. How does it feel? My chairman is here. If he calls me instead of Vinci, 36063, come. Because until you instill emotion into what you are doing, empathy, you will not understand. ये तो रोज बोलेंगे bed number को मत लो, नाम लो, नाम लो, नाम लो. Keep yourself in that place. So please address your patients by name. So simply because she has not done it, look at the complication arises in IPHG 1. This is second, improve effective communication. What does it mean? Most of us feel effective communication is speaking very good English. That is effective communication. No. In healthcare, effective communication encompasses verbal order policy, telephone order policy, critical care alert, your handovers, These all are the effective communication. Because many forum, sometimes you ask the younger ones, they are like, speaking well. No. Effective communication, it is critical care alerts you receive. So how do you go about that critical care? So and so patient has high potassium level. So once you take it down, there is a policy to be there in the hospital. Have you completed it? When it gets completed, when the right person is informed, that consultant, and he has given you some corrective action, the corrective action has been carried out, then it is documented. Then your policy gets over, not in midway around. Please remember it. So this is on that. So improve the safety of high alert medication. How many of us here, it needs double signature, but insulin also is high alert medication, but we take it very, very loosely, not so seriously. You just give insulin, catch hold of some doctor, some nurses, sign it because it is double signature required. There are various medical negligence, adverse events because this double verification is not taken seriously. It is just considered as a accreditation norm, documentation, catch hold of somebody, sign it. Ensure safe surgery. It starts from the counseling of the patient, from the anesthesia physician checkup. Till the surgery is over, the patient comes out of this thing. Here, even one thing is missed. The handover, the sign in, time out, sign out. Entire process. If something goes wrong here, the patient will end into irreparable harm. Healthcare associated infections. How many of you think, how many of you believe in that 5 movements of hand hygiene? We enter, especially in many private hospitals also, multi-beds room. We think, once doing hand hygiene is enough. But do you really religiously do before touching each patient? And even afterwards, even one patient, there are unhygienic areas. Do you really do hand hygiene? Especially a doctor. He is the supreme in the healthcare. And he thinks my touch itself is enough. Why should I do a hand hygiene? Correct? I am the Bhagwan, undisputed king. Of course you are, sir, after the God. But still you need to do hand hygiene. And how many of the nurses here are empowered and has that brave enough to tell the consultant, sir, please take few drop of this and do your hand hygiene. And the day, all that various big thing talking here. But the moment the nurse is empowered, she is able to tell a consultant herself, hand hygiene is important. That is where the basic patient safety starts. Reduce the falls. And we give falls. Why? We keep sometimes you feel the patient is so bothersome, let me keep the nurse call bell very far away from him. उसको किस्ते बेचारा गिर जाता है. ठीक है? And sometimes his bladder is full, he keeps ringing the bell and we do not go. He tries to get out of the bed. So, this fall has got numerous implications. Fractures, head injuries, take it seriously. Do the analysis in the admission itself. And please put the ID band as per the policy. Safeguard him. One of the most, in one of the organization, most frequent falls are happening. The predominant factor which comes is what? Health education to the relative. But what happens here, my nurse feels that relative was there. I have told him he is risk for fall. Don't wake him up, take him out without my assistant. But the relatives keep changing. Do you think that basic intricate aspect, that evening there will be another relative? So that effort has to come shift after shift. Every day, every minute we should be caring for our patients. How can we prevent? Of course, the top line is for the management, adequate staffing and nursing patient ratio, workload management and task prioritization. How do we do, nurses? Workload management and task prioritization. Simple thing here you can do. In one of my previous hospital we did. Pending task. Pending task is something we always forget. The doctor forgets, I forget, everyone forgets. What can we do? As a nurse, I can keep a note on something, whatever is pending. And as a in charge, you go on round with adequate supervision, ask her, beta, have you completed all this? When in charges and high level, like maybe nursing superintendent ask a question, then only you are putting a full stop that. See, anyone, even if I am not asked questions, if I am not held accountable by my bosses, I'll take things very relaxingly. Same thing, it is a human behavior. However highly you are placed, however you are lowly placed, but there is no accountability. No one is asking you question. No one is inspecting you. Things will come down. So start ask question, start asking about the patient factor, try to help her if she is overloaded with things. So we did a very simple task. We developed one handle like one, this thing, kind of, in hotels you might have seen do not disturb sign. So there we developed a yellow one. So we started putting at the every door handle where things were pending. Sonography was pending. Other things were pending. So, very famous thing, Beta, आप दिन भर क्या करते हो? Anybody above the nursing level, anybody beyond the RMO level, administration people, patient experience people, nursing entire admin team, what they favorably tell you when you ask, what do you do whole day? I take rounds. Entire afternoon goes in rounds. When so many people are taking rounds, why my patient is suffering? Why there is pending task? Because our rounds are not active. We are not doing active round. So when so-called so many people are around, they will see that handle on the door. At least इनका बत्ती जलेगा इधर. अरे कुछ तो pending है patient के लिए. So these kind of innovative things you have to come. Simple, cost effective, with no cost, things you have to come out to reduce pending task. Of course, communication and teamwork, very important. We all are ready to criticize anybody in front of so many people. ये तुमने ये नहीं किया, तुमने वो नहीं किया. But how much enthusiastic are we to appreciate the same? So golden line, criticize in person and recognize, reward, appreciate anything in public or in front of so many. Of course, use of technology, ISBAR tools, continuous education and training. What I do here is, have you seen, I am giving you some very practical example. In one hospital, there are certain departments which is always on the top high of the patient experience. उनका departments में कोई complaint ही नहीं है. There will be, but they are always on the patient. Patient will not lie to you. Some people sitting here will say, ma'am, data can be manipulated, of course. But patient experience, patient what he says cannot be manipulated. So we see some departmental has, people have got that trends, they are on the top. So we make them sit with others and exchange. How do you do this? How do you achieve this patient experience? So it is a recognition for her. Of course, she is imparting that certain in charge is imparting knowledge. There may be certain human factors she is doing by which the patients are happy. Such kind of training will help. We call it expert talks because she is expert in patient care and patient experience. Of course, patient and family involvement is important. From the morning, if you inform, morning when you go for handover, sir, your day is going to be like this. These are the main events we have planned for you this day. At least if you miss something, he will remember. Madam, you had told me today sonography hai, lekin aapne kiya nahi hai. So it is important in a simple matter to involve patient and relative. Audits, monitoring, audits cannot be just checklist, tick, 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 tick. But audits have to be engaging, audit list has to be relooked, modified as per the incident trend analysis of your own hospital. You cannot have the audit checklist of somebody prepared 2 years ago. After that, so many things might have been changing, so many incidences. Every in charge has to look for a trend in the audit, incidences, then change your audit checklist, of course, by that. And audit checklist when you make it simpler, concise, comprehensive. 50 point mat rakho. No auditor is going to see that 50 points. Everyone is just ticking and giving you the sheet. Patient safety, culture, and leadership support, as I told, it has to percolate from the top management to the down. The management has to annually budget, invest, engage in patient safety regularly to create that patient safety culture. Of course, I have already explained adequate staffing, nurse-patient ratios, workload management, and task prioritization. Enhanced communication and teamwork. Very important to have at the end of every shift to have a team huddle. You will know exactly what has happened. And very important for nursing superintendents to change your pattern of rounds. Kya hota hai na? I know exactly when my madam will come for round 10 a.m. Let me be very much ready for that. And once that 10 a.m. is gone, I am free to do what I want to do. So please change your round pattern. Go at 1 p.m. Come sometime in the evening to observe what your nurses are doing. How are they taking handover? Are they really going to bedside for half handover? Are they really involving? Are they really taking the patient's name? So this all depends on nursing leadership. Technology and tools, of course. Continuous education and training. It cannot be a one-time event. Once I have taken training, it's over. And also we focus so much on the newcomers. Induction ho gaya, orientation ho gaya. But what about the people who are in the system for 4 years, 5 years, 10 years? They are redundant. They do not learn anything new. So plan for things to reinforce their knowledge, to reinforce their training with updated, whatever is the current updation. And again, patient and family important. Involvement is important in preventing healthcare errors. Audit, monitoring, and feedback. Whenever you want to bring in a change, whenever you want to initiate something new, please take involvement from your ground level staff. They will give you the reality. Then that project will be successful. But when you yourself have done some kind of initiative, some project, and tell the ground level staff, do it, it will not be a success because you have not understood what is happening at the ground level. So feedback, encouraging feedback, listening to your ground level staff is very important. And patient safety culture and leadership support. The last slide. Do I have time? 5 minutes? I have time. I have time, 5 minutes? Yes.
Patient safety is a top
So this is
priority in
summarizing
healthcare,
everything
and
what I
nurses
said.
play a crucial role in ensuring that patients receive safe and effective care. It's all about keeping patients out of harm's way and preventing any avoidable errors or accidents. Let's dive into some key aspects of promoting patient safety. First and foremost, effective communication is vital for patient safety. Nurses need to communicate clearly and efficiently with patients, their families, and the entire healthcare team. It's all about making sure everyone is on the same page. Whether it's explaining medications, discussing treatment plans, or conveying important information, clear communication helps prevent misunderstandings and potential errors. Another essential aspect of patient safety is medication management. Nurses are responsible for administering medications correctly and monitoring for any adverse reactions. They need to double-check dosages, verify allergies, and ensure that patients receive the right medication at the right time. It's a critical task that requires attention to detail and careful documentation. Infection control is another key area in promoting patient safety. Nurses are the front line when it comes to preventing the spread of infections. They follow strict protocols, such as hand hygiene, wearing personal protective equipment, and maintaining a clean environment. By taking these precautions, nurses help minimize the risk of healthcare-associated infections and protect both patients and themselves. Patient education also plays a significant role in patient safety. Nurses provide information to patients and their families about their conditions, treatments, and self-care practices. By empowering patients with knowledge, they can actively participate in their own care and make informed decisions. When patients understand their health conditions and treatment plans, they are better equipped to manage their health and avoid potential risks. Additionally, nurses are vigilant advocates for patient safety. They are trained to identify any potential hazards or risks and take appropriate action to prevent harm. Whether it's recognizing signs of deterioration, reporting safety concerns, or advocating for patients' rights and preferences, nurses are the advocates on the front lines, ensuring that patients receive safe and quality care. Lastly, promoting a culture of safety is essential in healthcare settings. It involves creating an environment where all healthcare professionals feel comfortable speaking up about safety concerns or errors. By fostering open communication and a non-punitive approach to reporting incidents, healthcare organizations can learn from mistakes and implement improvements to prevent future errors. In conclusion, promoting patient safety is a critical responsibility for nurses. Through effective communication, medication management, infection control, patient education, advocacy, and a culture of safety, nurses play a vital role in keeping patients safe. It's all about working together as a team, being vigilant, and continuously striving for excellence in patient care. By prioritizing patient safety, nurses contribute to better outcomes and improved overall healthcare experiences for patients. Patient safety.
Preventing missed nursing care is essential for maintaining high patient safety standards and achieving optimal patient outcomes. By addressing the root causes such as staffing shortages, inadequate communication, and excessive workloads, healthcare organizations can create an environment where nurses are supported and empowered to complete their tasks. Implementing these strategies not only reduces the risk of missed care, but also promotes a culture of safety, improves nurse satisfaction, and enhances patient care quality. And a very famous and very nice quote, which is very close to my heart. Dear nurses, dear healthcare workers, too often we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which has the potential to turn a life around. Thank you so much for patiently hearing me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your insightful presentation. For felicitation of Dr. Vinci, I would like to request Ms. Mary Anthony, Nursing Superintendent, Downtown Hospital, to felicitate ma'am. With a fulam gamusa, a traditional chadar, and a memento, a small gift as a token of gratitude. Thank you. Next, I would like to hand over the stage to Dr. Kasturi Datta. Dr. Kasturi.
Good morning, one and all. I'm Dr. Kasturi Datta, serving as a physiotherapist at Downtown Hospital. It is an absolute honor to introduce our next speaker, a true inspiration, a visionary, the man behind the evolution and revolution of emergency medical services in India, Dr. K. Hari Prasad. Dr. K. Hari Prasad Group Chairman and Non-Executive Director of Quality Care India Limited, has been a transformative figure in the healthcare industry for over 3 decades. His leadership spans across the Care Group of Hospitals, the KIMS Health Group of Hospitals in Kerala, and the Evercare Group of Hospitals in Bangladesh. A trailblazer in emergency medicine in India, Dr. Hari Prasad played a pivotal role in establishing it as a recognized specialty, launching initiatives such as the 1066 emergency services and the Apollo Health City, the first operational health city in Asia. His tenure at Apollo Hospitals witnessed its expansion from a 1,200-bedded entity to India's largest private healthcare provider with over 10,000 beds, while achieving accreditation milestones like JCI, NABH, NABL for clinical and service quality. With advanced education in medicine and healthcare management from prestigious institutions, including the IIM Bengaluru, Singapore Management University, and the Harvard Business School, Dr. Hari Prasad has also been instrumental in pioneering paramedic and emergency medicine education in India. His visionary leadership ensured Apollo Hospitals' resilience during the COVID-19 pandemic, managing the largest private treatment and vaccination program in the country. A strong advocate of team building, clinical excellence, and operational transparency, he has mentored leaders, introduced innovative healthcare solutions, and consistently maintained growth trajectories under challenging circumstances. Recognized globally for his remarkable contributions, he is the recipient of awards such as the UAE Global Waterfalls Award and the Leader of the Year by Asia One. An author of an inspiring autobiography, I Am Possible, Dr. Hari Prasad has masterfully portrayed a larger-than-life journey with the simplest of words. Today, Dr. Hari Prasad will be sharing his insights on the critical topic, patient safety and emergency medicine. Let us all put our hands together and welcome him on stage.
Good morning. Good morning. Let's have some energy. Or all of you are thinking still about what Vinci spoke and everybody else spoke before this? I think I'm not going to speak any of the serious stuff because you had enough of it, enough of learning on patient safety in the previous lectures. Can I have the presentation on? When I was actually asked to speak at this conference, there were 2 words, emergency and quality. These were the 2 words. And it could be interpreted in any way. Quality in an emergency or quality in emergency. What's the difference? The difference is very simple. When you say quality in an emergency, it means that the entire healthcare quality in the country, in the world is actually an emergency and it needs to be treated. And when you say quality in emergency, it means what are the quality parameters, how do you ensure that there is patient safety and quality in the emergency rooms. So I didn't know what to speak about. But I thought I'll spend a few minutes speaking about both, because I genuinely believe that quality is in an emergency. All of us are as healthcare providers. The simple rule is do no harm if you can do no good. That's the simplest rule. Whether you're a nurse, a technician, a doctor, a super cardiothoracic surgeon, whoever you may be. And when somebody comes up and says that all the indicators in my hospital are perfect. Zero. No errors. That means only two things. One, either you're bluffing or you don't have patients in your hospital. One of these two things. There cannot be a hospital which is treating patients without errors. So first, let's accept the fact that errors are a part of the day-to-day life that we lead in the healthcare sector. Because unless we accept that, we are not going to make any effort to correct them or reduce them. Just to give you an example, just in the US, because data in the rest of the world is very, very sketchy, and India, the data is never reliable because we don't have any errors and we don't have any deaths due to medication errors in India, right? So just in the US, in every year, there are 100,000 deaths just due to medication errors. And when you extrapolate it to India, you can imagine what the number could be in India if data is reported honestly. Hospital-acquired infections. Vinzi spoke about hand wash and the rest of the stuff. You know what it costs? In the US again, this is authentic data. $9.8 billion because of what we do to the patients in our hospitals and what healthcare workers give the patients. These are all acquired in the hospital. These are all hospital-acquired infections. So this is what we are doing in healthcare. So I genuinely believe quality is in an emergency, and we need to look at why it is in an emergency. And I think I'll spend a little time on going through some of the factors which, how many of you are actually working in hospitals? Yeah, you guys will relate better. And those who are preparing to work in hospitals, get ready for this, because you will discover this as soon as you step into a hospital. The first thing which happens in a hospital is when somebody makes a mistake or somebody commits an error. Committing an error is human. You're a superhuman if you don't commit errors. And in a complex environment like hospitals, errors are bound to happen. But the tendency is to brush it under the carpet so that nobody actually knows about it. And unless you measure your errors, unless you know your errors, you're not going to be able to ever correct them. The next thing is the fear factor. What will happen if my boss comes to know about it? So keep it away from the boss. Don't let the boss know about it. Here the boss could be your immediate supervisor, it could be the CEO, it could be the nursing director, it could be the medical administrator. And what also happens, those who work in hospitals will relate to this. There are a lot of decisions which need to be taken for a hospital to run, and particularly to make it a safe place to run, safe place to treat patients. Who takes the decisions? The decisions are taken at the top by the CEO, by the top people who never come out of their rooms, never come down to the shop floor, never come and see what's happening at the shop floor to understand what needs to be corrected, to understand what needs to be improved, to understand where the lacunae are, and to make sure that these are corrected. And when you ask somebody to draw the process flow in a hospital, this is how it looks. Really, when you give it to somebody, I don't think anybody can make out from the process flow. Somebody sits down and maps it, spends hours, makes crores of rupees, but at the end of it, this is what it looks like to an ordinary nurse or a healthcare executive who is working on the shop floor. To demonstrate it better, is this working? Okay, the film doesn't seem to be working, doesn't matter. And another thing which you commonly see in the hospitals, which is again responsible, we all, when we sit through the training classes, HR training classes, quality training classes, wherever we sit, the first thing we are told is to work as a team. And when any one of you work, all of us, when any one of you are asked in a hospital, you'll all say we are a great team, we are working together, we are doing a fantastic job together, and we're making sure that the patient gets the best. But when an error happens, this is what happens to your teamwork. The blame game. You never make an error, you never make a mistake. It's always somebody else who's making the mistake, and that's responsible for the problem. The next thing which happens is, when a real issue is coming up, a difficult decision needs to be taken, the buck is always passed on. Especially at the leadership level, nobody wants to take difficult decisions because it could go wrong. So there is a scare even at the leadership level. So unless decisions are right and the buck is not passed on, decisions are taken at the right time, right decisions are taken for the right reasons, it's going to be difficult to manage. And now we are getting in new breeds of people into healthcare. Initially it was only the doctors and the nurses who used to take care of the patients. Then the administrators came in. Then the HR came in, finance came in. Now there is a new breed called the analysts who are coming in. They never know what is happening to a patient. They've never visited a ward. All they do is they take all the data that you've given them and create some analysis, which 100% would be far, far away from what the patient is expecting, what is required for the patient, what the doctor needs, what the nurse needs. It is far, far away from that because he or she has never seen a patient or seen how a process works in the hospital. Communication. Sitting in this hall, when some people like Vinci or all of them are giving a great talk, which is very, very important for us to go back and implement at our place, we are chit-chatting with each other and there's a brilliant communication which happens. But where it matters, this is a huge problem in the healthcare sector. The communication is a big gap. In fact, this is one of the reasons which is attributed to a majority of errors in the healthcare system. And unfortunately or fortunately, the communication needs to happen at different levels. From the doctor to the nurse, to the technician, to everybody, even to the level of the housekeeper. Unless the communication channel is open and unless the communication is both ways, up, down, down, up, it doesn't work. And this is a big problem in the hospitals, and you really cannot talk about patient safety and quality unless you got this piece right in your hospital. How many of you have had a doctor prescription? Does it look like this? Many, many prescriptions look like this. And we are expected to follow this prescription and make no errors. Make sure that the right medication which is written there at the bottom, the right dietary requirement is given to the patient, looking at that what is prescribed at the bottom. Who bears the brunt of it? As Vinci said, it is always the nurses who bear the brunt of it. Because the doctor never reads his own prescription or goes and brings the drugs which he writes. It's always the nurse who has to understand what it is, who has to go and indent and get the medication and understand what the doctor has written in terms of the dosage, in terms of the strength, and then give it to the patient. So it's always the nurse who actually bears the brunt of it. And I must say that the nurses do a fantastic job, but they are the ones who are the most blamed in the hospitals. And this is what happens when an error happens. If you get into a culture of punishing people when there is an error, let me assure you, there will be no errors in your hospital. because they will not be reported. And when they are not reported, it is a gold mine that the hospital is losing out. Let me assure you that errors are a gold mine which form the foundation for the improvement of any hospital. Now, when you get this sort of a culture into a hospital, I can assure you that you are missing out the real value of errors in hospitals. Then people like me sitting in the board say the profits must increase, the margins must increase, you should make, the share price should go up, all this thing happens. And what does the poor CEO at the unit level do? He cuts costs. And see what happens to the patient satisfaction levels. What happens to patient safety? What happens to the clinical outcomes? This is very, when a lot of you are young here, you won't know this, but people sitting in the front who experience this would know this. Please ensure that at any level, for whatever reason, there should never be a compromise on anything that impacts the patient, safety, quality, clinical outcomes. You should resist it. You may be a small executive, a nurse, but learn to resist, learn to speak up, because you're doing it right for the patient. Any healthcare worker is there because the patient is there. And if we don't do the right thing for the patient, we're not doing anybody a favor. And as I said earlier, there's a long chain of healthcare workers, complex processes which are there in a hospital, and it requires a lot of people working together, working in unison, communicating with each other to send a patient home healthy, to send a patient home without a hospital-acquired infection, without a medication error, without a patient fall. So it just takes one person in this entire link to ruin that whole thing. So please make sure, as you become leaders, that the entire link is working in unison, and the unison is patient safety and patient coming first and not compromising at any level on anything that impacts these. And this is another thing which very commonly happens in hospitals. The blame is put on the smallest fellow in the hospital. That poor fellow cannot do anything. He has to listen to what is being told to him. He listens, and there it ends. Because he's just not empowered to do anything. All he's empowered to do is to listen to the galis and the abuses of the senior team members in the hospital. Please understand that the people at the shop floor level, people in the front office, people in the wards, these are people who have actual knowledge of what can actually help you improve patient safety and outcomes. Please don't ignore them. Please don't burden them beyond their capabilities. They are trained to do certain things. Let them do that very well. But what happens is, once there is a person at that level, you tend to burden him with everything, and also burden him with when something goes wrong, when he is not responsible for it. And you all know this. When you pay peanuts, what happens? You get monkeys, no? So I'm not too sure how many of the healthcare workers across the country really feel this. But I for sure know that the nurses are grossly underpaid in the country. I for sure know that the technicians are grossly underpaid in the country for the work they do, for the stress they take, and at the end of the day, for what they contribute to the hospital in terms of patient outcomes. At the end of the day, if you actually do a mapping, you will realize that the doctor who makes the most money from a patient touches the patient the least. Now with digitization, automation and all, the doctor has stopped touching the patient also. It's the nurses, it's the F&B, it's the housekeeping who actually touch the patients more, but they are, in my opinion, not paid adequately. Now we used to use a term called continuous quality improvement. right? All of you, those who are doing your MBS, would be very familiar with this term, continuous quality improvement. But I think at the current stage that healthcare is in, that is not enough. The pace at which continuous quality improvement is happening is not enough. We need to innovate. We need to think out of the box, because at the end of the day, we are saving lives. An error could mean the death of an individual, the loss of a person for a family, the loss of an individual who is the breadwinner for the family. So we should be able to innovate, we should be able to think out of the box, and we should make sure that we do everything to prevent that error and to prevent that avoidable death. And there are some very smart fellows in any hospital. They have the knowledge, they've learned it from the hospital, and they want to protect it, and they don't want to let anybody know about it. That's the worst thing anybody could do. One of the most important traits of a leader, all of you are at some time going to become leaders, is to be able to share knowledge. Nothing is intellectual property for you in the hospital, what you learn from the hospital or in the healthcare sector. Its value is only when you pass it on and make sure that more number of people benefit from the knowledge that you've gained from it. I spoke about this. And a lot of times you're put to extra work. The NABH audit. How many of you have gone through an NABH audit? They make you work round the clock, 24/7, rub you there, and at the end of the day, what they tell you is, well done, good job. That's what comes up at the end of the day. So I think one of the important things is, while there are incentives for financial performance, for profits, for achieving targets, for achieving margins, I think I haven't yet seen an organization which has incentives for reducing errors, for enhancing quality, for making sure that patients are safe in the hospital. I think we need to make sure that these people are incentivized, because the margins follow patient safety, the margins follow good quality care. Bad quality care is actually more expensive than good quality care. Now things are changing. We can't be doing what we were doing 20 years ago, 10 years ago today and expect to get brilliant results. We need to be able to adapt to the changing world. What is changing? Everything is changing. The disease profile is changing. COVID came and hit us. What happened? Except healthcare workers, everybody sat at home. And healthcare workers were those who were actually fighting COVID, coming to the hospitals, working. So everything around us is changing. People are talking about digitization, automation, robots, whatnot. We need to keep pace with those changes and make sure that in a changing environment, we still focus on the patient, we still focus on clinical outcomes, we still focus on reducing the preventable errors in the hospitals. This cannot be a reason for increased number of errors in hospitals. I said the same thing. Again, this is also the same context. Things are changing, and today, even if you are sitting here right opposite table, what is your mode of communication? WhatsApp, right? Why can't we talk to people? Why can't we get up, go and talk to people? It's good for our health also, if we move around. And the quality of communication is very, very important. And there is a huge difference between somebody sending a WhatsApp message and actually going and talking to the person. The reason being, when you send a WhatsApp message, it is up to the individual to understand what he wants to from the message. It need not be that he's understanding what you intended to tell him. But when you actually go across and talk to the person, you're actually conveying the meaning and making sure he understands what you're talking to him and what you're doing. Now a little bit of emergency, because that's my pet. That's something which I've been involved for a very long time. And actually you know that there is a huge change. Previously in the 90s, a lot of you would not have been born also then. We never had emergency rooms. We never had ambulances which could treat patients on the way. Most of our ambulances in that era used to carry dead bodies, not patients. Now it's changed, and changed for the good, and I think there's a lot more to be done, but at least the path is right and we are moving in the right direction. One of the things which you need to understand, again I don't want to repeat what Vinci said, apart from the ward, the ICU, everywhere else, emergency presents a different situation. The reason being, the individual is struck by something which was unexpected, and the family did not expect it. So they brought the patient to the emergency in an unexpected condition, and their psychological state is completely different from somebody who is undergoing a total knee replacement. So you need to make sure that you understand the psychology of not just the patient but the family, and make sure that they are the psychological aspect is actually taken care of. And around the world, fortunately in India this is still not a problem, but around the world one of the biggest challenges in emergency is the waiting times. And this is typical in the advanced world. Fortunately we still don't have it, and I hope we never get into that situation. Well, I remember my sister who lives in the US had a fracture, Colles fracture. She went to the ER. She was made to wait outside the ER for 6 hours because the doctors were busy. Then she had an X-ray, and then it took another 3 hours for her to put a cast. A cast was put and an analgesic was given, and she was asked to see an orthopedic surgeon by taking an appointment. The appointment was given 4 months later, by which time the fracture had ossified and there was a malunion of the fracture. So they actually had to break the fracture again to correct the alignment and put the rod in. So that is the state which some of the most developed countries are in, and I really hope that we don't get into it. And a lot of times what happens is, what is perceived as an emergency by the patient is not perceived as an emergency by the provider. It may not be. Somebody who's got a avulsed nail and is bleeding, it's not a life-threatening emergency as far as healthcare providers are concerned. But for that patient who's had that, for that family who's seeing the bleeding happening, it is an emergency. So make sure that you don't push off anybody saying, wait for some time, you're not an emergency, because for that patient it is an emergency, and the expectation is that you attend to the patient immediately. Now this is routine. What is a good emergency service? What is accepted? What is expected of a good emergency service? I don't want to read it out. All of you know about it, and ultimately it is not just the patient, but it is also the family which you need to take care of. You can read the important aspects of a good emergency service. Now this is again a chart, which is a busy chart which explains to you what is required to make an emergency room with good clinical outcomes, make it safe, minimize errors. I will never use the term zero error, because in healthcare there is nothing called zero error. If somebody is talking about it, you can laugh on his or her face. So minimize errors and protect the patient from any harm, and make sure that the patient you are actually dealing with in an emergency with all the specialities. It could be a pediatric guy, it could be a 95-year-old person, it could be an MI, it could be a fracture, it could be a stroke, it could be a simple dehydration with gastroenteritis. So there's a big variety which comes into the emergency room, and it is a complex environment which is present in the emergency room, and the personnel need to be able to handle different complexities of different age groups, different disease profiles, different family types in the emergency. And I don't want to, again, all of you who have some sort of an accreditation or some sort of a quality background would know that, unless it is measured, it's not done. So even emergency has some quality indicators. I don't want to go through them. You will find plenty of them. This is something which I like, so I put it up here for you. When the boss is around, everything goes well. When the boss is not around, God help the patient. When Vinci is standing there, her nurses behave differently. When she is not standing there, the nurses behave differently. It's human, isn't it? When you know that you are being watched, you behave differently. When you know that nobody is watching you, you do whatever you feel like. So quality is, more importantly for me, what you do when nobody is watching. Get it right when nobody is watching. Get it right every time. That's the most important part of quality. And a lot of people believe that with the increasing technology, with increasing artificial intelligence and all this stuff, quality is going to improve. Let me assure you, healthcare is always going to remain human resource intensive. The hand is always going to be more important than the machine or any intelligence from the cloud. And as was demonstrated in some of the studies which were shown earlier, majority of the errors were human errors. So none of these will actually help us in reducing errors or enhancing quality unless the human component is actually taken care of. So on that front, I would like to thank Downtown Hospital once again, and thank you for being a great crowd. I think give yourselves a big round of applause for being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for a wonderful presentation. To express our gratitude and appreciation, I would like to invite Dr. Udayan Barua, Medical Superintendent, Downtown Hospital, to join us on stage and felicitate Dr. Hari with a token of appreciation and respect.
Wonderful presentation. First time hearing.
Moving on, I have the pleasure of introducing our next speaker, a distinguished expert whose work has significantly advanced healthcare quality and standards, Dr. Isha Arora Narang. Dr. Isha is a healthcare management professional with an extensive experience in quality assurance and accreditation. She serves as the Deputy Director at the Quality Council of India, New Delhi, where she has made remarkable contributions for over a decade. She holds a bachelor degree in dental surgery an MBA in Hospital Management from the Indian Institute of Health Management Research, Jaipur, and a PhD in Healthcare Management from MGM University, Navi Mumbai, which she earned in 2016. Dr. Narang began her journey with the NABH providers, where she was instrumental in managing accreditation processes for hospitals and small healthcare organizations across India. She is now leading a strategic project on grading accredited healthcare organizations as part of the QCI's policy unit. A qualified assessor for both NABH and NABL, she combines technical expertise with a deep understanding of healthcare quality systems. Her professional journey also includes roles at renowned institutions like PD Hinduja Hospital, Mumbai, and Medanta, the Medicity, Gurgaon. An accomplished educator, she has taught hospital administration to MBA students at INLEAD, Gurgaon. Additionally, Dr. Narang has presented and published research papers at numerous national and international platforms, contributing to the advancement of healthcare management and quality assurance. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Dr. Isha. She's going to share her insights on the topic, grading of accredited healthcare organizations. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction. A very good afternoon to all of you. First of all, I would like to thank and congratulate management of Downtown Hospital and organizing committee for the kind invitation and for putting up such a grand workshop and on such an important topic, which is just not the topic but the need of the hour. So thank you to the management and to all the presenters for such impactful presentations. I was literally mesmerized seeing the entire spectrum that has been covered. So today I would like to present on a very important topic, a very initiative which has been taken up by the policy unit of Quality Council of India under the leadership of Dr. Narottam Puri sir, who envisioned this project. And I'm also grateful and honored to be presenting it in front of my mentors, Dr. Girdhar Gyani sir and Dr. Alexander Thomas sir, who have been very important part of this project. Dr. Girdhar Gyani sir's guidance throughout the project, being part of the steering committee, and leadership of Dr. Alexander Thomas sir being the chairperson of the technical committee of grading project, have been immensely helpful in shaping the project. Regarding patient safety, in fact, Quality Council of India has always been putting in the effort to make sure that we put in the patient safety component in our standards. In fact, NABH's 5th edition in particularly changed the 6th chapter, which was initially CQI, which meant continuous quality improvement, to patient safety and quality improvement, PSQI. This effort was made to make sure that the patient safety concerns, those standards have been incorporated, and so that the patient or maybe the attendant, while submitting the patient to the hospital, feels safe and secure in the hospital environment. Now that we have been into accreditation for almost 2 decades, NABH started its journey in 2005, and now that we have already had so many accredited hospitals, now we wanted to address a very important issue which the patients were facing. So with the only interest of the patient, with making sure, with helping the patient to choose between the 2 accredited hospitals, there were no standards. I'm sure all of us here present here are the healthcare professionals, but if you wear a patient's cap and if you're not related to the healthcare background, I'm sure you'll face the same problem while making the decision of treating yourself in any hospital. I'm sure before you plan to choose a hospital, you would be dependent on your friends or family's references. or on the internet search, or on some doctor's consultation, some doctor's reference, or many other so and forth reasons, but not any authentic source which would tell you that this hospital is a 8++ graded hospital, or this hospital is the best hospital in your city. So with that effort, we started with this project, grading of the accredited healthcare organizations. So before I jump into the project, a small brief or an introduction about the Quality Council of India. It was set up in 1997 by the Government of India, ASSOCHAM, CII and FICCI. It is an independent autonomous organization of Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, DIPP, under Ministry of Commerce and Industry. It was established as the NAB to lead a quality movement by undertaking a national quality campaign. QCI, by virtue of its role in quality and accreditation infrastructure, has been receiving a large number of projects from various central ministries, departments, and state governments on a nomination basis. Mr. Jeksay Shah, sir, is leading the organization, is the chairperson of QCI, and Mr. Kanan Chakravarti, sir, as the Secretary General of QCI. This is the organizational structure where we have the Secretariat, we have the Governing Council, Governing Body, and Secretary General. And these are the various accreditation boards of Quality Council of India. NABL, NABH, NABET, NABCB, NBQP. Also, there's a special segment called as the Special Projects segment, where we have Z, where we have the PPID, PAD, and the Finance Committee. Our boards have been striving hard to make quality a national mission, and we have had almost 7,000+ accredited labs in our country, 20,000+ certified and accredited hospitals, 20,000+ NABCB, the certification bodies. Then Education and Training Board, NABET, deals with 7,000+ education institutions have been improved, and 300+ organizations have been accredited. And under the National Board for Quality Promotion, 50,000+ individual and members and organizations have already been impacted. We have NABH, which is signatory to ISQA and ESQA, which is International Society for Quality, and NABL is signatory to APAC MRA, which basically QCI has its boards have signed the multilateral mutual recognition arrangements. Now that, like I was talking, we have been into accreditation from 2005. Now what after accreditation? We have been talking about the CQI. What is the CQI of accreditation? The answer is grading. Grading of the accredited healthcare organizations. I've already talked about the problems that we face as the patients, that we have to depend upon the friends' references, the family physician's opinion, internet search, the ratings which are given out by the magazines, or the hospitals that might be doing lot of marketing, but then there are no authentic sources which can help us in choose the hospital. And there was also demand from the medical insurance, from the medical tourism industry and the insurance sector to come up with the standards which are authentic and patient-centric. That led us to initiate this project in the policy unit of QCI, where we did the literature review. We studied about the organizations that were providing the grading or the rating system in USA. We came across some organizations like CMS, US News, Hospital, Leapfrog Hospitals, Safety Grades, Rush University, Hospital Grades. There were a lot of analysis, comparative analysis that was done for all these organizations, and we found that none of them were focusing on all these pillars mentioned here. None of them were focusing on operations, healthcare quality and safety, patient care, patient rights, infrastructure, human resource, financial information, ethical codes, standards, and third-party assessment. So it was our endeavor to make sure that we include all these sections as pillars of our grading document. We did research on the Indian scenario as well, and we found out that there are organizations like Brickwork, CRISIL, India Ratings and Research, ICRA, Care Edge, Acute Care, that were providing the ratings, not the grading. And most of them were providing it on the financial parameters, but none of them were focusing on the healthcare sector. That led us to coming up with a grading system. Now, what will be the role of grading? Of course, it will help the patients to select between the two accredited hospitals. It will give visibility and credibility to the healthcare entities. It will attract better medical professionals to the hospitals. These are the various benefits that we listed out for the grading project. Hospitals that will be graded with the highest grade will be able to distinguish themselves from the rest. Patients will be able to choose the right hospitals that are graded the highest. Healthcare organizations can benchmark themselves with that of the peers. Medical tourism industry will be able to help the international patients come to the hospitals that have got the highest grade. Physicians, nurses, paramedical staff can choose the right healthcare provider to work with. Volunteers, donors, NGOs can choose the right healthcare institutions to make their contributions. Insurance firm can have the differential pricing introduced for the hospitals that are graded the best. Municipal, state and central governments can use the hospital grading to directly assess the institutions under their authority. Now, what is the difference between NABH accreditation and grading? NABH accreditation will play a level, a playing field or a pre-qualifier for grading. For the grading project, we will have all the accredited hospitals apply to us. Under grading, we will generate a grading system. We will generate a system of A+, A++, and A++. NABH accreditation is based currently, we have launched the 6th edition of the NABH Hospital Accreditation Standards in September this year. And we plan to launch the grading standards somewhere in the month of January in the coming year. And the grading standards will be based upon the patient-centric or the focus is going to be completely on the patient in the grading standards. It will enhance the quality, it will empower the consumers and encourage the institutions to go in for grading. These are the various phases in which the project was planned at QCI. In the phase 1, we will prepare the standards of grading for the hospitals. Along with that, we are coming up with the centers of excellence for various medical specialties. We have already initiated the work on oncology. We are going to come up with the 7 other medical specialties in the coming years. In the phase 2, we will prepare the standards for the clinics, for the district hospitals, and in the phase 3, it's going to be completely rural. We will be forming the standards for the PHCs, for the CHCs. Now, talking about the grading framework, the grading booklet, we have included, like in NABH, we have the chapters, we have the standards, we have the objective elements. Under the grading document, we will have the sections, we will have the key areas and the action points. To make it more subjective, we have included the audit points as well. So these are the various pillars or the various sections or the various chapters under the grading. We have made sure that we follow the Donabedian's model of including the structure, process and outcome. Along with that, we have included patient experience, innovation, adoption of best practices, academics and research, sustainability, use of technology, staff experience, clinical governance, risk identification and risk mitigation. I'm sure you can see the various percentages that have been associated with each section depending upon its importance in the grading document. So this is the template that we have followed. Like I mentioned, we have sections, which is very similar to the chapters of NABH. We have key areas, which are similar to the standards of NABH, and the action points, which are same as the objective elements. But here we have tried to simplify it further. We have tried to give the interpretation, the definition of each action point. Under each action point, we have the measurable element. We have given the numerator, denominator. We have given the benchmarks and audit points. Audit points just to make sure that the hospital knows what is to be done and for the assessor to know as to what is to be assessed.
Just to give you an example of the structure chapter or the structure section, if you'll see here, infrastructure, human resource, and resources are the various key areas under this. And further breaking it, under infrastructure, we have made sure that the hospitals have disabled-friendly and accessible parking facility and disabled-friendly ramps. Hospital has adequate number of disabled-friendly toilets. Hospital has adequate parking facility, adequate toilets for the patients and staff, counseling rooms, negative pressure, protective environment rooms, compartmentalization and passive fire protectors, lift and safety in hospitals. The mention of lift reminds me of a very fatal incident that took place yesterday in one of the hospitals of UP, where a woman, after just delivering, within 2 hours, she was being shifted from OT to the ward, where she succumbed to death because of the lift that crashed. So these are the incidents that make us, in fact, we should be acting upon it by making sure that we have standards in place, that we make sure. I think a lot has been talked about the patient safety culture, but now is the time for acting upon it. Now is the time when we make sure that we are implementing these standards into our system and making it a culture. So the other parameter which I was talking about under the key areas of human resource, if you'll see the slide, you'll make sure, I am sure it reflects that all these standards have taken into consideration the patient safety parameter, the patient safety factor, making sure that the patient is safe. In fact, also the attendants who come along with the patient, they are safe. So under this project, we formed the steering committee, we are the project planning unit in QCI. We formed the technical committee, evaluation committee, and later, once the standards will be launched, we'll form the grievance addressal committee. And it gives me immense pleasure to be sharing the members of the steering committee with all of you. The committee is being chaired by Dr. Narottam Puri sir, the man who envisioned the project, along with Dr. Pawan Kapoor sir as the co-chair. And we have the presence of who's who of healthcare into our steering committee. We have Dr. Girdhar Gyani sir, Mr. Gautam Khanna, Dr. Sudarshan Balal sir, Dr. B.K. Rao, who is the ex-chair of NABH. I'm sure the names are very familiar with all of you. I don't need to introduce them further. All of these people have guided us at each and every step of our project implementation. Some glimpses of the meetings that we have had on site and innumerable virtual meetings. Talking about the technical committee, it was Dr. Alexander Thomas sir who could drive the project in such a short time. We came up with the first edition of our standards through the technical committee within 3 months. So it was sir's leadership and guidance that drove us so that we could come up with the standards. And I'm sure, again, if you'll see, we have the representation of the quality experts, hospital management experts, nursing, and a very interesting fact. If you'll see, beyond nursing, you will see the various diagnostic and the medical specialty representatives who have been part of the technical committee. Just to make sure that once we are done with the hospital grading standards, we'll come up with these centers of excellence in these various specialties like I was talking about. We have already initiated the work in oncology under the leadership of Dr. Harit Chaturvedi sir. And we are going to come up with the centers of excellence in cardiology, in neurology, in ops and gynae, in orthopedics, in radiology, and in laboratories. Like I'd mentioned, we had drafted the standards, but we wanted to make sure that it was just not in the papers, but it is implementable. This is one of the kinds of a project in which a 360-degree review was taken from the assessors, from the hospital administrators who have been working on ground, And a pilot was done across the country in all the 5 zones, north, east, west, south, and in central India. And I'm grateful to the management of Downtown Hospital and to Mayurakshi Madam, who accepted us for conducting the pilot in Downtown Hospital, Guwahati. And I must mention, it was a very successful pilot, which we completed. Now that the pilot, the outcome of the pilot was getting incorporated in the standards, and now we are on to another important exercise of customer insighting. We wanted to understand as to what all difficulties the patients are facing on ground, and for that we have already conducted the inciting in 24 different hospitals of our country. And once the customer inciting outcomes will be incorporated, we plan to launch the grading project or the grading standards in Jan 2025. And we look forward to the participation of Downtown Hospital. We wish it becomes the first graded hospital in Northeast now. So the pilot was successfully done in 300 plus accredited hospitals. The pre-qualifier, like I'd mentioned, is going to be the accreditation. For any hospital to apply under grading has to be accredited not only by NABH, it can be by JCI or it can be by ACHS. The grades that will be granted will be accreditation plus, accreditation double plus, and accreditation triple plus. So we have already had the presence of all these strategic partners into our various committees. Thank you so much for the patient hearing. Since it's a new topic, if there are any queries, any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for a wonderful presentation. To express our appreciation and gratitude, I would now like to invite Dr. N.N. Dottor, Chairman and Managing Director, Downtown Hospital, and Chairperson of this Patient Safety Workshop, to join us. Come forward, sir, and help us to felicitate Dr. Isha Arora, ma'am. কিবা ক'ব নেকি মাজলৈ
He says, just wait here. Because if they take photograph, it will come nicely with you. Actually, she has announced that I am the CMD. And here I am the Chancellor. I am sorry I could not come early. Because I am retired now, Udan Bora and my daughters and so many managers are taking over. I relaxed. I am very thankful to all the speakers who has come here, including Nesha.
My pleasure.
And I am very thankful to all the delegates who has come here for this organization. I shall say only 3 words. I am grateful to God because I was born as a human being. Am I right? Then second thing, I am thankful to myself because I became a doctor because of untiring efforts, including the nurses. Then again, we are thankful to the patients who come to us and say, he's a good doctor or a good nurse, like Ronnie. So patient is our topmost priority. I had written a book, first book I presented to my patients. Forget about that, but I am very grateful to all of you who has come here. Esha, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for your engagement and insightful participation in the morning sessions. A big round of applause to all our esteemed speakers. We will now take a break for lunch. Lunch is being served at the dining area on the 4th floor. We encourage you to take this time to connect with fellow participants, reflect on the discussions, and recharge for the exciting sessions we have lined up for the afternoon. We will reconvene in about 45 minutes, so please make your way back after lunch. Thank you. Enjoy your lunch.